All right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey, trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If, on the other hand, you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.cfrn.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.cfrn.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Tuesday, 8th day of March, 2016. Happy Tuesday. Let's take a quick look at the numbers. Markets are tepid. That's our word for the day. Tepid. All right. Let's see what that really means. We're going to look at the cash markets first. We'll start here in the U.S. Then we'll go to the futures markets later in the show. Currently, the Dow Jones Industrials are down 70 points. The NASDAQ is down 30 points. S&P 500 is down 14 points, and the Russell 2000 is down 20 points. The big mover and shaker there, of course, the Russell down 1 3/4%. It was also the big gainer yesterday. So, market gives, the market takes away. Turning to our commodity basket, crude oil, another example, down $1.07 or 3%. Gold, on the other hand, pretty steady, up $2.40, and that's just a fraction of a percent, so we won't concern ourselves with that. Let's go to Asia, take a look at those numbers. Mixed. The Nikkei down 128 points, Shanghai up 2.5, Hang Seng down 148 points, so that's 0.75%. So things pretty quiet over there. And last but not least, Europe, 2 days red back to back. The DAX is down 86 points, which is roughly 1%. The FTSE is down 56 points, which is roughly 1%. And then we have the CAC 40 down 38 points, which is, you guessed it, roughly 1%. So there you have it. All across Europe, things are red. One little Spot of green in Asia is the Shanghai Index, up all of 2.5 points. And here in the U.S., just all red. So, with that said, I want to throw one little news piece at you, and then we'll head over to Michael, and he'll give us a recap of everything that happened in the live trading room today. The good, the bad, the ugly, the stuff we don't sweep under the carpet. Why? Because you end up tripping over it, and then that's just awkward. So it's best not to do it. It's best to be honest. It's best to be transparent. It's best to say, hey, this is what happened. Plus, it's easier to remember the truth. So, I don't know. Some say we took the easy way out by being transparent. Okay. We'll wear that red badge of courage or red letter, whatever it is. Republican presidential frontrunner, you may have heard of him, Donald Trump, is getting pummeled with criticism that he ran a fake university in reference to the now defunct Trump University series of courses on real estate and investing. You, I'm sure, saw the infomercial as it created the illusion that he was coming to your town. When you bought tickets to the event, now I never, honest, my lips to God's ears, I did not go to any one of these. I'm just not that kind of person. I just don't go down to the Embassy Suites on a Saturday morning or the Hilton or wherever and sit in a big room full of people with money burning a hole in their pocket, you know, desperately trying to figure out some way to get ahead in this world. I don't fit in. So I stayed home that day. Now, all of the commercials that run late night, night after night after night, leading up to the big event, they never actually say that Donald's going to be there. But boy, they sure make it sound like he's going to be there. Now, there may have been some instances where he did actually show up, maybe for some of the larger ones. But that was a big complaint here in Phoenix. I remember it a few years back, was that those who did go, I don't know if you had to buy a ticket or if the tickets were free. Probably the tickets were free, and then you bought stuff at the back. See the man in the back, pay the lady, you know. Anyway, his underlings would come. And I don't mean his son or his daughter. I mean his pitchmen, who would teach you how to become a successful real estate investor. And who better to learn how to flip real estate from? I mean, if you have your choice between the angry Latino guy, Armando, and Donald Trump, I don't know. I'd probably go with Armando, but maybe you would go with Mr. Trump. Anyway, his team blows into town. They get everybody all fired up, and they pitch them on becoming a part of Trump University. Now, he's been taking a lot of heat over this, that it was like a diploma mill, that it wasn't really a university. Well, you know, come on. We know it wasn't. Even the people that went there and paid money, they knew it wasn't a real university. But it was a school that taught you how to, I mean, you can go to the library and check out books all day long. Even the other guy that got in some trouble on late night TV, Carlton Sheets, with his magical mystery tour and how to invest in real estate and never have to get out of bed kind of thing. If I'm not mistaken, he got in a bit of trouble. He's still on late night TV, and those books that you pay a lot of money for, you can actually go to your local library and check them out for free. How cool is that? All right. And is the information in there bad? No. Is it flawed? No. Is it something the average person can pull off? Well, let me ask you, how many people do you know that are successful real estate investors / flippers / whatever? Chances are you might know one or two, depends upon what circles you circulate in. But on Monday, Trump hit back at critics with a video he called Trump University Truth. There's been so much talk by dishonest people about Trump University or Trump Entrepreneur Initiative, and I thought I should set the record straight, he begins. Trump takes aim at Fox News for saying Trump University received a poor rating from the Better Business Bureau. Recently at the Fox debate, they said it had a D- rating from the Better Business Bureau. Trump says, I said that's not true. It had an A. Well, I turned out to be right. So now, Fox, they have a pretty good fact-checking team, I would think, right? And so it's pretty easy to check the BBB rating of a company. You just go to the BBB website or call them up and ask or look, and it's just right there. You can go from A+ all the way down to, I don't know how low you can go, but A+ is as high as you can go. Ask me how I know. No, don't. But A+ is good, right? And so the fact that if what Trump is saying in this video is true, that he did have an A, and the Fox fact-checking team is saying he had a D-, there's a huge disconnect there. Now, it's no secret that the powers that be suddenly are afraid that Donald Trump could become the next president of the United States of America. And by the powers that be, I'm talking about the RNC, the Republican National Committee, the big dogs, the ones who pull the strings. It's like, wait a minute, whoa, how? We didn't expect this to happen. Or did we? This whole Bloomberg thing, who's orchestrating that if it happens? We talked at length about that yesterday. We should know within 9 days if he is going to gather the signatures necessary and enter the race. Trump takes aim at Fox News for saying they got the Better Business Bureau rating wrong. And if they did, well, shame on them. Whether you want him to be president or not, okay, you don't, if you're going to have any journalistic integrity, you don't go on a national debate stage and lie about a man's record, no matter how much he infuriates you. You don't sink to, in some cases, his level, all right? His assertion appears to be only partially true, though. Over the years, the company's BBB rating has fluctuated between an A+ and a D-, according to a statement provided to CBS from the Better Business Bureau. At this time, the status is no rating because the company is believed to be out of business. So, how does that saying go? There's always 3 sides to every story. My side, your side, and the truth. So the truth is, at one point he was A+, at one point he was D-, and now there's no rating because there is no Trump University. Okay. Next, he calls Senator, this is in the video that he just released. Next, he calls Senator Marco Rubio of Florida a lightweight, disparaging him in response to an attack commercial of Rubio's. This thing, at this stage of the game, it's gotten this ugly, this quick. There's been this much mud slung already. I mean, we're not even down, to the final 2 or 3, whatever it's going to end up being. Trump reads what looks like, now this is on the video he released yesterday. Trump reads what looks to be an end-of-course survey from a former Trump U student who rated his course and gave it all excellence. Trump claims that 98% of the students who took courses through Trump University provided similar feedback. I'll easily win this case when it comes to court. I look forward to it, he says on video. Trump is currently enmeshed in 2 lawsuits filed by former students of Trump University, one of which is being pursued as a nationwide class action suit. He faces a 3rd suit from New York's Attorney General. The suits accuse Trump of defrauding thousands of students with worthless classes on real estate and investing. Regarding those claims, Trump stayed noticeably silent in his video. He said nothing to defend the actual content of classes given by Trump University. If you or someone you know attended Trump University, or perhaps you didn't actually sign up, but you went to the cattle call interview where the pitchmaster, razzled you and dazzled you with how much money you can make in real estate. Now, I don't doubt that Donald Trump is going to come out on top of these lawsuits, because as long as he taught these people something about real estate, I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Was it really good information? Were there insider secrets? Did people make millions? Probably not. But was it But did they get what they paid for? That's the question. What did they pay for? They paid to be taught how to invest in real estate using the quote-unquote Donald Trump method. How are you going to argue that that's not what they got? I mean, let's say the students show up for class. I don't know if it was online or if you went to a physical classroom. I don't know. Let's say you showed up it'd be like in our live trading room, right? You sign up for the mentoring program. You come to the live trading room every day. Me and Michael aren't there. We're out on the beach with, got our toe in the sand, one of those little drinks with the umbrella in it. Okay, well, that would be wrong because you paid to get taught and there was nobody there to teach you. So, I mean, he's going to spend a bunch of money defending himself. The New York Attorney General is after him. There's a whole army of attorneys behind the New York Attorney General. This is just one more thing to muddy the water, to, I think, perhaps aggravate him to the point where he says something classic Trump, like, you know what, I'm Donald Trump. I created a great business. I created thousands of jobs. I created over 1,000 jobs in my lifetime. So, anyway, that and $5 will get me a cup of coffee at Starbucks. But anyway, at some point he says, you know what, I'm Donald Trump, and I've built a great company, and I don't need this headache. I wanted to help the American people. I wanted to make America great again. I wanted to build a fence. I wanted to do all these different things, but you people are making it impossible, and so I'm going to take my billions and I'm going to go play elsewhere. That would be probably the single worst thing that could happen. I mean, what's his name? Mitt Romney, he comes out the other day with this incredible fire in his belly against Trump. Where the heck was the fire when he ran for president? If he had shown that kind of fire during the election where he ran against Obama, he might have won. But that was sorely missing. It wasn't there. Maybe he's changed. Maybe he's grown. Maybe he's matured. Maybe he accepts that that's what it takes if you really want to be the president of the United States of America. Honestly, I don't know. All right. With all that said, that's a lot to think about. And we'll be talking about all of these little, there'll be some new little incident that crops up every single day between now and Election Day and even beyond. As long as it continues to keep these markets volatile the way they have been, I mean, take a look at the chart I have up right now, the S&P 500 Emini Futures. By the way, if you can't see the chart, maybe you're new to the show, go to our homepage at cfrn.net. On the right-hand side of the page, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. Within 30 seconds, you'll be registered. And then for the rest of the month, you'll get an email approximately 1 hour before the show starts, reminding you that the show starts in an hour. And it will say, when you're ready to join the show, click here for one-click access. So you don't have to sign up again every day. That would get boring. One-click access. And by the way, once you get the first email with the link at the beginning of the month, if you want to just save that link, you can, because it's the same link all month long for the radio show. Because I know some days the email shows up late or doesn't show up or shows up so early that you miss it. Beat the system. Just save the link day one and use the same link every day. Will save you a seat. Okay? Now, once you're able to see the chart, you'll also be able to access the chat box. The chat box is really important because that's how you participate in this radio program. It has been for many years now. It's your opportunity to ask questions about trading in general, about specific markets, about who we are, what we do, how we do it, why we do it. Anything you have on your mind, be it political, be it life-oriented, be it a life hack. We love great life hacks. Whatever it is that you want to share with the rest of the world, you want to get it up on iTunes, you want to get it out there circulating the globe, you want to put your mark on this day, that's how you do it. The chat box. Okay? So all you got to do is type it in. Now, if what you have to say is so heavy that your fingers cannot carry it across a keyboard, let me know. I'll open your mic and I'll even let you just share your thought or idea. We are family-oriented radio, so if you go off the rails, I will mute your mic pretty quick, okay? So we believe in treating everyone with the dignity and respect. We expect the same in return. That's all. With all that said, this chart I have up, the S&P 500, will go into great detail after Michael gives us our recap of the live trading room. But you can easily see the first push down gave us 5.5 points, not ticks, points. S&P pays $50 per point. You need 2 points to make your daily goal of $100 per contract per day. And then we know that important prices in important areas are almost always tested. So on the second push down, the market made 13 points available. Third push down, the market made 5.5 points available. And on the fourth push down, the market made 16.25 points available. I don't know of any other word besides sweet. That's what the market did. Now, we give you the entry. Once you become a partner, we work closely with you in one-on-one mentoring sessions and in our workshops to teach you proper stop placement, how to manage your risk, how to maximize the potential of these bigger picture trades. But initially, what we want you to do is we simply want you to learn how to trade. That is the most important thing that you'll take away from your relationship with CFRN, is you'll actually learn how to trade. Imagine what your life would be like if you never learned how to drive. But somebody years ago took the time to go through the motions, to put their life in danger, to teach you to drive. And now, when you decide, I think I'll go get a chocolate milkshake at Burger King, you glide out to your automobile and you strap yourself in. Hey, how about that new radio that won't play until you put your seatbelt on? It's one of the new cars. Or it says it mutes it or it lowers the volume. Anyway, you can't enjoy your tunes until you buckle up. That's pretty clever. Anyway, you get in your car and you effortlessly drive to Burger King. Now, we won't debate the quality of food and whether or not you should be drinking chocolate milkshakes at your age. We won't get into that. But my point is simply that you can come and go because someone took the time long ago to teach you an important life skill. And that's what we offer in the 90-day mentoring program, is we offer to teach you an important life skill. It's called trading. You know, trading it's not what everybody wants to do, but obviously if you're listening to this radio program or you're listening to a recording of this program after the fact, you somehow in some way fancy yourself a trader. You've tried to become a trader. You want to become a trader, and maybe things didn't work out in the past. But see, we have a different approach. We have something unique and different. It's called a forward progression. We don't trade backwards, we trade forward. And what we do is we qualify ourselves as we move forward every step of the way. But I'll get into all that later if you have questions regarding it. For now, let's just go to Michael. I know he's anxiously waiting in the wings. He has things to do. He's got a meeting this afternoon. My goodness, I forgot about that. Michael, if you're ready, sir, and I know you are, please take it away.
I am. All right. I will take it away.
What time is your meeting today?
1:15.
1:15.
45 minutes. Yep, 45 minutes. Here, let me do this.
And who will you be inviting to that meeting?
All the people who are on the trial
Okay.
right now, they are invited. They've just got their invitation, as a matter of fact. I just sent it out. Even if they didn't make it into the live trading room this morning, they still got the invitation.
Okay. So
All right.
do the right thing, the next right thing, which is go to that meeting this afternoon. Your meetings run, what, about 45 minutes?
Yeah, usually 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
Usually.
And what he'll do is he'll show you a few things that you won't see in the live trading room. Because the live trading room, we've done the exact same thing every day for the last 3 years. I don't know if that's so boring, but boring and consistent go hand in hand. And so, yes, we'll teach you how to be extremely boring when it comes to trading. And so we don't deviate. We don't come up with a new trade of the week every other week, or any of that kind of stuff that you might see sometimes around the internet. We found something that works and works well. We have a spreadsheet on our website that lists every trade we've taken in the live trading room for the last 3 years. Here, let me just stop and let Michael tell you all about it. Let me click this so that he's got the big screen. I'm going to hit mute, and I'll be here when you're done.
Okay, here I go then. Alright, good afternoon everyone. Today is Tuesday. Tuesday, the 8th day of March, 2016. Now, to take our free trial, if you have not taken a free trial, just go to the home page at CFRN.net. Go to the home page, right over here in the right-hand column where it says register for a free trial. Put in your name, put in your email, click on register for a free trial. If you have not done that, then you must go to, yeah, that's all you have to do. You do that and it'll be sent to, I just mixed up everything that I was going to say. Put in your name, put in your email, click on register for a free trial. You'll be sent a confirmation link there. Okay, you must click on the confirmation link. If you don't click that confirmation link, you do not get the free trial. Let's see. Just want to check the questions before I get. CFRN, did I hear that Peyton Manning retired? I did not hear that. Okay. Yeah. that would be the Broncos. All right. Let's see. To get to the spreadsheet, guys, if you have not reviewed our spreadsheet, go here to View Live Trading Room Results. Click there. And then to view our daily results spreadsheet, click here. There you have it. Okay. And just scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you'll see where the most recent results are. Okay. Now, I'm already down at the bottom in this one, so I can go over today's results. Not exactly a banner day. We got our goal on our second trade, but we had some technical issues for the first half hour, just about. So it took us 29 minutes and 2 trades to get our goal for the day, but we gave most of it back. We're up 11 on the Russell, up 5 on crude, and down 15 on gold. On the month now, we're up $995 a contract. That's over 6 trading days. We're averaging $165 a day. If you applied an $8 commission to every trade we've taken, you'd have a net profit of $267. If you applied a $5 commission, you'd have a net profit of $540. On the year now, we're up $13,885 a contract. That's over 44 trading days, averaging $315 per day. $315 per day. Okay. All right. Now, let's go through the trades. There weren't that many trades today. How much did I say? 12 trades. 12 trades today. We started out with a trade here. We had a break-even trade right here on gold. Looks like we missed a couple of nice trades in here, thanks to the technical issues I was having. There's a trade in there, then another trade over here. Okay, then finally in here we got 1 tick profit on this one, another break even there, another break even there, and we stopped out on that one. That put us at -7. Missed a trade there, and we missed a trade, just there because it didn't put in a lower swing. We missed a trade there, and got a break even trade there, and we stopped out again over here. On this stop out, that put us at -15. -15 on the day. That's where we ended the day, trading gold at -15. Did have a short trade there, and there, and there. And that would have been about it on this move down. On this move up, there would have been a long trade here for a break even, and that is it on the gold. We ended with -15 ticks on the gold today. Okay, on the Russell, let's see. Now, you see this gap right here? They had to restart something. All the markets have this little gap right here because they had to restart something. That was our technical issue. All right, in here, I didn't want to take this trade because the cycle was flat right there. But it did have a nice move down. This one right here, I missed. You know, the data wasn't, the DOM and the charts were not in sync in here. That's why I didn't trade anything all through here. This right here was our first trade of the day, though. Our first trade once everything got synced back up. We took a short right there, and we took 10 ticks profit. That's where we got our goal for the day, right there. Okay, then it got into the zone, so we didn't do anything until it got out of the zone. And we had a break-even trade there. Missed a trade there, missed a trade there. Break-even? Nope, one tick profit right there. Put us at +11. Missed a trade there, there, and there. And there. And then we got into the break. During the break, there was a long trade from right here, did not put in a higher swing. A short trade from right here, did not put in a lower swing. So not a lot of continuation in there. A long trade there, again, no higher swing. And now it's dropping down. So the follow-through was just not there during the break. You know, you'd get a trade set up, and I mean, the trade setups worked out. They just didn't put in higher swings. So if you were in these trades, the area to look for, You know, if you got in down here at, let's say, 76.1, you would have been looking for 77.3. So I would probably put a target at 77.2. Okay. That's what I would have done. Now, crude oil. Crude oil. Yeah, we only had a couple of trades in here. Okay, again, you'll see that gap right there. All right. I'm just going to ignore all that. There was a trade right in here. Okay, then we had a break-even trade there, and we made 5 ticks profit on that one. It looks like this would have been a trade right there. Barely put in a higher swing right in there, and then it dropped all the way down here. Gave a short setup right here. It didn't go anywhere. That would have stopped you out if you'd have gotten into it. Momentum long there. A long trade there. Long trade there. This one, you might have gotten some profit on. This one would have been a break-even. During the break, there was one trade right in here. And that's about it. It's starting to set up another trade right now. What we would look for right now is a down close below that trend line. Okay. The ES, we did not trade at all today. But you will see it has the same gap right there. There may have been one there, John. I can go take a look. The ES was just a mess. I didn't look at it. I didn't trade it. 1138, you say? There was a momentum short right here at 1137. Then there was another one right here you could have taken for that move down. So yeah. Yep. A couple of them that I missed in there. Alright. I know that was a really quick recap. But that's all we got. Let's bring this back up. Alright, so we made 11 ticks in the Russell, 5 ticks in crude, and we lost 15 in gold. Took us 29 minutes and 2 trades to get to our goal for the day, and we were at $100 a contract at that time. We took a total of 12 trades. So on the month, we're up $995 a contract. That's over 6 trading days, averaging $165 a day. On the year now, we're up $13,885 a contract. That's over 44 trading days, averaging $315 per day. Okay. If you have not taken a free trial with us, then just go here to the home page at CFRN.net, and in the right-hand column where it says, okay, I just got your text, Dwayne. Where it says name, put in your name. Where it says email, put in your email. Then click register for a free trial. When you do that, you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click the confirmation link. Okay? If you don't click that confirmation link, you will not get the free trial because we don't know you took it until you click it. Let's see. To get to that spreadsheet that I've been showing you, you just got to click this thing right here, View Live Trading Room Results, and then click right here. All right, to review our daily results spreadsheet, click right there. And that'll bring up the spreadsheet for you. Okay, now for you, it's viewable, but for me, I can edit it. At least that's the way it's supposed to be. All right. Now let me slide that off and take a look here. See, crude, we got the down close below the trend line right there. Now that would have been a momentum short trade. Momentum short trade. The reason it would have been a momentum trade is because the entry was also below the MA1. So it gave 5 ticks profit. Now as soon as you get any profit in one of those type of trades, you need to move your stop to break even. Okay. Dwayne's going to take a couple of minutes, so I'm just going to go through a few things here. Over here on the Russell, this is what you need. 1074.2 is the high. 1073.8 will be the low. These are range bars. Because they're range bars, they're going to either close at the top or the bottom. And if you know where the top is, well, then you know where the bottom is going to be. Okay. Now the cycle's starting to move up down here. Cycle's starting to move up. You don't want to go against the cycle if it's 45 degrees or greater against you. Okay. Let's see. Thank you, John. Alright. So it looks like the ES is trying to work its way down to this weekly trading zone. Down to the weekly trading zone down here. It's almost there now. But do we have a lower swing? We do have a lower swing in place. So it could possibly give a short trade going right down into the zone. Okay. All right. Well, I didn't put any trades on. We just talked about them a little bit. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to stop the recording, and we can head back up to Phoenix.
Okay. I'll grab the screen.
Okay.
And I know you got a skedaddle to get ready. Tell me, if you would, recap of the recap.
Today it took 29 minutes and 2 trades to get to $100 per contract.
20. Now, this isn't to brag or to boast, folks. Tell them why we do it.
Why we do it? We do it to show you that it can be done. That's all.
Yeah.
Not every day is as simple as this. I mean, and it wasn't simple today. We had technical issues.
And yesterday, how long did it took? It took longer yesterday. It took.
Yesterday was 51 minutes. 51 minutes and 7 trades. I think yesterday we started off with a losing trade. I think was a problem.
Now it's not a race, so please don't think that we're trying to prove how quickly we can do it every single day. It's not that kind of a thing at all. We just simply want to make it a historical record so that we can go back. If somebody said to us on July 17th of 2014, how long did it take you to get your daily goal? Could you tell me that?
July 17th of 2014. Yeah. 2013. June, September, August. July 17th.
Yeah, a number I just pulled out of the air.
2 minutes. Yep. 2 minutes and 2 trades.
Well, that's good.
2 minutes and 2 trades.
Nice day. Now, you'll also see on our spreadsheet, you'll see red days. You'll see, we don't always come out smelling like a rose. Some days we come out smelling like sweat. But that's the truth about trading. And if you Google CFRN, the truth about trading, you'll learn a thing or two about trading. So, and about the aggressive risk management that we use and the importance of using a hard stop and all of those very important things. So, Michael, thank you so much. Okay. I'm going to dive into the good word for the day. Good luck with the meeting, and I've got back-to-back mentoring sessions this afternoon, but if you need me, I'll be at my desk, so just hit me with a text or whatever you need, okay?
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. Thanks. See you.
Okay, folks, today we're going to talk about not quarreling. That's an underused word. That's all I'll promise to use quarrel at least twice today. How does that saying go if you use a word? I don't want to own quarrel. That's a negative word. Never mind. I'm just kidding. Don't quarrel and avoid people who do. That sounds like pretty good advice. 2 Timothy 2:24. The Lord's servant must not quarrel. Now, you and I, if we consider ourselves to be believers, okay, then we are the Lord's servant. let's consider why some people are given to quarreling. They grew up in homes where it was a pattern, so they actually think it's normal. It may be normal, but it's certainly not Christ-like. The Bible says, avoiding a fight is a mark of honor. Only fools insist on quarreling. Proverbs 23. Think about your home that you grew up in. My mom and dad, they divorced when I was, I think, 7. And then my mom, she remarried. And anyway, the man that I consider my stepfather, he came into my life when I was probably about 8 years old and was there right up until I left to go off to the Navy at 17. He was a man of so few words, you often wondered if he could speak, but he could. He just wasn't a talkative guy. I mean, he was a good man, a loving man, a caring man. He took my brother and I to Bowers once a year to always make sure that we had a pair of shoes that fit. He was a good guy, right? When he and my mother would quarrel, they did not exchange harsh words. They exchanged harsh silence. I'm serious. They would literally go for 2 weeks without speaking a word to one another. When dinner was ready, my mother would have a certain way of setting the last plate on the table with a firm placement that alerted my stepfather over in his recliner that dinner was served, so she didn't have to say anything and he didn't have to say anything. He would get up, he would come to the table, sit down, and we would have dinner. No lively conversation, just dinner. This would go on for like 2 weeks. It would go on until they both, I think, forgot what the heck they were upset with each other about. And it would usually, the big chill would start to thaw when my stepfather would say something like, let's go to Arby's. That was like the big intro. After 2 weeks of stone cold silence, let's go get dinner at Arby's. And all of a sudden, it was like it never even happened. Because my mother could be a very, very talkative woman. And so once the gate was lifted, man, she just, I mean, she'd been storing it up for 2 weeks, right? So she had a lot to say. And I don't mean in a bad way. She just was very talkative. And so life would return to as normal as it got in my household until the next big chill. So that is a type of quarreling, right? When you don't speak to your spouse. Number 2. Now what we're talking about is why some people are given to quarreling. 1, it's how they grew up. It's what they saw modeled. So if you have children, what are you modeling for your children? Okay? Because whatever you model for them, that's how they're going to run their household, most likely. So unless they take great steps to change the pattern. All right. So another reason that people are given to quarreling is to boost their self-worth. Some folks only feel good about themselves when they're attacking the validity of someone else's opinion and beliefs and maneuvering that person into defending their position. Because if they don't defend their position, they're going to look weak. So often, people mistake kindness for weakness. You know what? You shouldn't do that, because you could wake a sleeping giant. True story. Now, the quarreler's goal isn't to add value to other people's lives by showing them the error of their ways. It's pure one-upmanship. I don't know if I could say that. One-upmanship. Solomon says in Proverbs 17:14, Starting a quarrel is like opening a floodgate. So stop before a dispute breaks out. Does that mean you shouldn't stand up for what you believe? No. It means you must learn to disagree without being disagreeable. Right, I know. I didn't say it would be easy. When you're mean-spirited, you do more harm than good. Benjamin Franklin was known to have remarked diplomatically, "On this point, I agree, but on the other, if you don't mind, may I take exception?" If you have a tendency to be argumentative, remember that it costs you absolutely nothing to respect someone's opinion, especially on matters of no eternal consequence. See, if we're arguing about something eternal, all right, that's pretty important. But if it's something temporary, I mean, really? You're going to ruin your day over something that probably won't even exist, 1, 5, 10, 100 years from now? Think about it. This is why Paul told Timothy, the Lord's servant must not quarrel. Instead, he must be kind to everyone. Oh, boy, that's right up there with love your enemy, is it not? Tough stuff. Will Rogers put it this way: people's minds are changed through observation, not through argument. So the word for you today is don't quarrel, and avoid people who do. And that's our good word for the day. And I'm going to be rude for just a second, and just give me 1 second here. I gotta do this or my phone's gonna start going bonkers. All right. Okay, S&P 500, Emini Futures. That was our good word for the day. Don't be quarreling. Don't be causing trouble. Don't let yourself get sucked in, okay? When there's that person that goads you, that tries to get you into an argument, they try to force your hand and make you defend your position, just walk away. Refuse to participate. When I was a kid growing up, there was an old saying, man, that guy really got my goat. I didn't know you kept a goat, but that was a saying. And so my son, at a young age, when he would get a little upset, I would say, "So did they get your goat?" "Yes, Daddy, they did." "Well, you know how you can fix that, right?" "How?" "Don't keep a goat." Eventually, it took a couple of years, but it finally sunk in. The other one, that guy, he always pushes my buttons, or he knows exactly which button to push. You know how you fix that? Go Velcro. Go zipper. Then he can't push your buttons. In other words, whatever it is about that individual that gets under your skin and makes you go on red alert, just get rid of it. Rise above it. Think about things that are good and true and noble and eternal, not the temporary, petty things that we so often exhaust ourselves on a daily basis, hashing over again and again and again, and we never never to any avail. We never achieve anything from it, so let it go. But he'll think I'm weak. So, what other people think about me, is none of my business. Really, that's how I try to live my life. What other people think about me, it's none of my business. That's their business, what they think about me. Well, what if they think poorly of me, or what if they think ill of me, or, like I said, not my business. My business is, what do I think of me? And more importantly, what does he, capital H, think of me? What does he think of me? See, now that's eternal. That's something that really matters. And so today, that's what I'm going to concern myself with. And I encourage you to do the same, and I encourage you to make it a part of your daily life. Take a look at the chat box. I forgot to ask Michael if there were any unanswered questions, or maybe I did and forgot I asked him. Eugene, Bloomberg announced yesterday that he will not run. Okay. I did not know that. Thank you so much for sharing it. Daniel, Dwayne, I couldn't figure out how to private message you in the room earlier, so I emailed you instead. Just wanted to let you know in case you have missed it. Anyway, had a mentoring session with Daniel yesterday, and he was on fire this morning in the live trading room, and I did get your email, and I'm very proud of you. You did an awesome, awesome job. Yes, John, I did happen to read the headline. I know you're talking to Michael there, but I read that Peyton Manning had retired, or was retiring. What else do we have? Okay, that was another Michael question. George says, that kind of sounds like me and my wife sometimes. I'm thinking that you're referring to that icy silence. Yeah. My wife and I, we don't do that. We get it out. Now, I'm one who can, bury it, and that's not healthy. But she won't. She absolutely will not bury anything. If it's bugging her, she's going to tell me. Okay? And I'm going to listen. Because if I don't, it's not going to get fixed. So, if you've been married for any length of time, we all know that we sometimes apologize, even if we don't feel that we've done anything wrong. And we don't say it in a catty kind of way. We just simply say, hey, you know what? I can see you're upset. I can see that I hurt your feelings. It was not my intention. And I am truthfully sorry. Man, that can save a Saturday. That can save a weekend. It can save a vacation. Just say you're sorry and move on. Yeah, but I didn't do anything. I'm not saying I'm sorry if I didn't do anything wrong. Well, okay. If you want to be miserable, I'm giving you an easy life hack here. All right? Make your life a little better. Okay. So last night, Concierge Trade Alert. We're going to just dive right on into those and take care of business. Oh, Michael already left. You left, didn't you, Michael? I knew there was something I wanted to show you. This came out really bad. Let me just tell you. I had said I was going to start doing the recap in a slightly different manner. This was my first run at it. So after the show, you can go check it out at emini.cfrn.net. That takes you to our Google Plus page. And if you hit play, it's also letting you know that currently we're streaming a show live, but this is a different show here. And
Greetings, everyone. This is Dwayne from CFRN.
And that's me with a stopped up nose in a echo chamber sounding room doing a recap of yesterday's Concierge Trade Alerts. So, I had to get through the first episode. I already know some things that I have to change. Well, actually, that was the third take. It took 2 days and 3 takes to get one episode that's not very good. I got to fix the lighting. I've got to get some non-glare glasses because if I tilt my head a certain way, I get a glare. Anyway, I'm thinking I'm going to have fun with this. Like on Abe Lincoln's birthday, maybe I'll dress up like Abe Lincoln. You know, Christmas, I'll dress up like Santa Claus. I don't know. When Apple introduces a new product, maybe I'll wear an Apple costume. I want to have some fun, but that's really me in the little box. I'm really talking, and I'm really telling people, you know, what's going on and what happened with all the Concierge Trade Alerts yesterday. So, I've got to get I may not do it again today because I was up so late last night trying to just get one in the can, as they say. Because after that, now I know what I need to adjust. You know, the sound, the lighting, pretty much everything. But at least I got through one episode from beginning to end with me up in the little box talking. And if I can get Michael to go along with it, we might start doing this in the live trading room. But I'm going to guess he probably won't want to. But if he does, we will. Why? What's the point? What's the purpose? It just brings a unique quality. I know that when I go to watch a video about any subject where I'm attempting to learn something, if I can actually see the instructor's face and I can see him talking as he's pointing out things on the screen, it grabs my attention much more so than if it's just a screen with a voiceover. So, anyway, this will, in a couple days, this will get pushed way down the page with new content. And so, anyway, that's how I spent my evening. How did you? Oh, and then when I was done at about 3 a.m., then we had words about why I work so much. And anyway, back to the moment. We sent out the Concierge Trade Alerts last night at... Oh, that's the wrong one. Hang tight, and I'll get the right one. That was the one from yesterday morning. We want the one from last night. Okay. All right. So last night at 7:40 p.m. Eastern, sell 1993.75 on the S&P. Okay, some people did, some people didn't. I can only guess that those who didn't really wish they had, because the first drop was 5.5 points. Okay? That's a half a week's work at 2 points a day. Important prices, important areas are almost always tested. 13-point drop. Test. Another 5.5-point drop. Test. 16.25-point drop. Okay? Now, anyone who receives this email could have taken that trade. But in order to take the trade, you have to actually take the trade. Okay? I know that sounds overly simplistic, but sometimes in mentoring sessions, I hear people say things like, man, I sure wish I could take those trades. Well, you can. The margin required to put this trade on is $500. S&P, Russell, NASDAQ, and Dow. I like those very much because the margin is only $500. So that's really helpful for someone who's new, just starting out, building your account size, etc. And then you had multiple opportunities, okay, if you didn't catch the very first move. So let's go to the next one, which is the Dow, the YM. There we go. Now these lines that you see on the chart, those are last week's weekly trading zones. Partners got this week's weekly trading zones at the beginning of the week, Monday morning. I was running a little bit late, but you got them. And come Wednesday or Thursday, I'll release either late tomorrow or Thursday morning. That's when I show the weekly trading zones, all of them, to the entire audience. That's just the way we've done it for a few years now. Okay, so here we go. Next, for the Dow, by 17,090 or sell 16,990, whichever presents itself first. So let's drop a little marker here. Okay. And it looks like we'll be selling 17,090. No, we won't. Did I have a misprint there? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Sell. My bad. Sell 16,990. You know, I'm not going to pull your leg. I'm still not 100% yet. You know everything that's gone on with me over the last few months. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that we'll all go through this in our life. Hopefully you won't go through it in such rapid succession, but you know, it takes a little something out of you. Anyway, God's grace abounds. So let's just get through this show. CT, Concierge Trade Alert. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. So in the Concierge Trade Alert, we suggested that you sell 16,990. 16,990. Okay. Now, let's get this time issue straightened out. We sent them out at 7:40 Eastern. Okay, so that's 1940 Eastern. So if I put it on 2000, that should suffice. And 2000 is right there. Okay, so on all the charts, I'll plant the flag at 2000. So the first move down took us to, well, the first swing low hit 977. So from 990 to 77, that's 13, but then it continued on down, and we put in a swing low at 964. So that would be 70 from 90 to 64. That would be 30, it'd be 26. 26 points. How many do we need if we're just trading the 2420 blueprint? We need 20, because the Dow pays $5 per point. So, important prices, important areas, almost always tested. And we get a beautiful example of that here. This swing low is 926. So that's roughly 60 points. or 3 times what you need to reach your daily goal. Now, we had a leg and a retrace and a continuation of the leg. The market made 60 points available here. It actually made even more available, but I'm going to believe that if you're using the method I've taught you, when this pulls back, you're going to get stopped out. You're not going to pick up 60 points on that trade. Probably more like 40, 45. Depends upon how aggressive you are and how you've chosen to trail your stop. When I work with you one-on-one, I show you a couple of different options, and then you decide what you're going to do, and you write that into your trading plan, and then you do that. Then you have to repeat that same procedure every time. You cannot change your swing every time you step up to the plate. If you do, you'll be forever lost. So don't do that. All right. Price gets back above, and then it's back below, then it's back above, then it's back below. On this move down, it actually got to 74. So if it had gotten to 70, that would be 20 points. So this is about 16. Okay. Right, 16 then. 16. And then price gets back above, triggers again, and this was the big move. This one took us all the way down to 907. So that would be 80 points, roughly. I'm rounding today. So, and now we're back above once again. On the long side, if we were going to buy the market at some point today, our buy number is way up here at 17,090. So doesn't look like, looks like we might get another shorting opportunity. We had 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like the S&P. You've probably picked up on the fact that those two kind of walk hand in hand and work out the same most days. So let me get rid of this because we won't need it right now. Let's pull this together. By the way, our free trade that we put out last night did not trigger. Okay. Is it still valid? Yes, it is. The markets, we've still got 3 full trading days left in the week. And so I will leave the trade there. If it triggers, it triggers. If it doesn't trigger, then it'll be one that didn't trigger. What I will do for you is if it doesn't trigger by tomorrow, by close of business tomorrow, I'll issue another free trade to all of you who have subscribed to that service on Thursday. Okay? All right. So, on the Russell last night, we were looking to sell 1092. 1092. What a nice move. Wow. Markets have just been... Those of you that have just started trading, okay, markets have not always been this volatile and this full of energy and pep, and we hope they stay this way because volatility, well managed, is a trader's best friend. Volatility, ill managed, is a trader's worst nightmare. So the Concierge Trade Alert last night said to sell 1092. Okay. And that triggered right after the market reopened. No. Yeah. 2000. right? And we put in a swing low at, what are we at? A low of 1071. So 71 to 92. That's 71.1. We'll call it 72. We'll round it up to 72. So we're erring on the side of being very conservative. Okay, so that's a 20-point move. Now the Russell pays $100 per point, so that's a $2,000 per contract move. That's what that is. Okay, now what's the chance you could have stayed in this trade? You see how it came back and it tried to reset itself and give you a second entry, an official second entry. Now, because you know where the sell is, you don't, let me try to keep this very simple so it doesn't get confusing. Let me just do this. Let me throw this up real quick. Okay. Give it a minute to load up. And loading, and loading. All right. And it will arrive shortly. Okay. So if we were going to trail our stop behind the BBC, obviously we get a bearish cross here. If we're trailing our stop here, we're probably going to get taken out here. Yeah. Okay, but then something interesting happens. Okay, you're trailing your stop, you get taken out. Hey, happens. You got taken out with profit, by the way. Let's say you were trailing here at 89, so you might have picked up 3 points, maybe you picked up 2 points. Maybe as soon as you came down and tagged the BBC here, maybe you just decided to, I'm good. So that low was 88.2. So that would have been 3.8. Which would have been $380 available per contract. Okay. I mean, you didn't want to stay up late. You just wanted to take your trade, go to bed. And so you're out there. Now, are you going to get out at the exact swing low? I don't think so. I don't. But the interesting thing happens now is after this trade triggers, this short trade, then we get the bearish cross. And you're like, oh, man. So it's possible that you would be flat based upon the way I train you in the mentoring sessions. Get a bearish cross, price pulls back, we get a down close below the step line, below the BBC, below the CFMA1. The open of this candle is 1086.8. We'll call it 1086. My phone, and I realized that my little reminder that I set yesterday with Siri had gone off way earlier. I was like, oh man. And so what did I do? I rushed. And here's a perfect example of what happens when you rush. But at least for those who are Concierge Trade Alert clients, you came out smelling like a rose. So for the free trade guys, now I take your trades every bit as seriously as I do the ones that are paid for. If you go to the Concierge Trade Alert page, there's a pretty good archive. I know I missed a couple, but if you go to the Google Plus page, emini.cfrn.net, you can fill up of any that I missed. I didn't do one, I don't believe, last Sunday when I flew to Georgia for the close of business. The Russell trade, free trade that I gave out, has not triggered. I will issue a new trade, and I will send an email out to all the subscribers that says, hey, new trade's posted. Go check it out on the free Emini Trade Countdown page. Okay? All right, let's move on. After the Russell, we've got crude oil GCLJ6. Let's take a peek at that. Right there. Okay. All right. Word was by 38.20. Right there, 38.20. Swing high was 38.39. I better write this down. CTA by 38.20. Buy. Okay. And the swing high again, 39. So the market made 19 points available, or 19 ticks available at $10 a tick. So 190 bucks was the maximum available. We don't get out of the swing high or the swing low. We trail our stop. The market takes us out with profit. Now, important prices, important areas, almost always tested. We get back below the trigger. Off we go again. This time the swing high is 38.39, which is another 19 ticks. So we got 19 and 19, also known as a double top. Okay. And then on the sell side, I think that might be where the big money was. If you were looking for big money. We've all been in the novelty shops and seen the big money for sale, right? 37.70. Is that the number? Yeah. $37.70. Wow, everybody had an opportunity to get whatever market you chose or you chose to trade last night. You had an opportunity, it looks like in I think every case, to get your business done early. That's always nice. So CTA, Concierge Trade Alert, sell 37.70. Okay. So from 37.70 down to 37.35. I can do that in my head. 35 ticks. $10 per tick. 35 ticks at $10 per tick. That would be $350 per contract if you got out at the exact swing low. Okay. Important prices, important areas, almost always tested. So we get above, okay. Now in this candle, you got to kind of picture this, if you will. We open here, we run up above the trigger, that resets the clock, and we have to look now at where this candle closed. It closed at 37.58. So Am I saying there was 12 ticks in there? There was. Okay. In important prices, important areas. Boom. There we go again. Swing lows 48. So that would be 22. 22 ticks. Okay. And then the big drop. The big drop. Now, this starts to get difficult, to stay in. This is just a straight drop, so that's not so hard. Let's measure just the bottom of this one. Okay, 36.77. So there's 37.70. Why don't we go find 36.70? Let's just see where that's at. It's right there. Okay, so that's $1,000 per contract. That's what the market made available. Doesn't mean that's what you took out of it, just means that's what was up for grabs. Now, let's throw indicators on there for a second. See how this would have played out in the real world in which we live. Still be in the trade, okay? Unless you chose to get out here. You traded down through the $1,000 per contract. Your first signal to exit the trade was this close above the black step line. Okay. Oh, but wait, it didn't close there. I'm sorry. I take that back. There is no exit signal yet. You're just flat still in the trade. You would need a green. You need a green candle closing above the step line to tell you to exit. So I don't know what to tell you, but if you're using our indicator set and if you are following the training that I give you in the mentoring sessions and that we talk about in the workshops, you're actually still in that trade. Unless you just say, you know what, I think I want to go to lunch and I don't want to leave a position open, I'm going to close it out. Okay. You made a cool gee whiz, why not? That's if you're a 1 contract trader. If you're a 10 contract trader, well, you made a couple dollars more. Okay. All right. Next on deck, NQ. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ. By the way, 1 trade a day traders, I am in the process of switching out the euro for the NQ. In fact, I told someone yesterday in a mentoring session that as of today, I was going to yank, because I haven't been doing alerts on the euro for a couple weeks. Ever since they changed the price, it didn't make it, it kind of didn't seem worth it. I don't know. I know plenty of people are still trading the euro and doing fine. But that column on the page is going to be replaced. Emini Futures Trading.com. The column where it says euro right now, that's going to be changed to just say NASDAQ or NQ. And we'll pick up as of tomorrow. Now, I said it in private yesterday, and I slipped up and didn't do it today, so maybe if I make a public promise, hopefully I will hold myself to it. It means I have to get started a little bit earlier so I get the necessary work done, but that's okay. That's what I do. That's why you pay me the big bucks, right? Okay. All right. So here's the NQ. We're looking to buy 43.10 and sell 42.85. All right. Let's get our marker down so there's no confusion there. Plant the flag at 2000. Is that right? Nope. That's right. Okay, 2000. No, thank you. All right, we got that done. So it looks like we want to sell 42.85, which again came early. Sure did. 42.85. If I can make it straight. What does that say? There we are, 42.85. All right. All right, let's move along. We're starting to drag here. CTA. Sell. 42.85. Done. Okay. Important prices, important areas, almost always tested. Once again, we have multiple opportunities to take advantage. As soon as you got... Now, remember, the email went out at 7:40. That's 1940 on your chart, Eastern, 1940. I planted the flag or the marker at 2000, okay? In other words, everybody had a chance to get the email and open it if they so choose. And by the way, you can tell your phone, well, it depends upon your email client, but if you are using Gmail, for instance, if you want to be notified, if you want to get what they call a push notification every time I send out an email, so that you don't have to keep checking your email every 5 minutes, did he do them, did he do them, did he do them, you know, your phone will make some unique sound, do-do, do-do, and whatever you want, it'll play that sound when an email from me hits your inbox, okay? And all you have to do is then go to your desk and sit down and decide what trades are of interest to you, how close they are to triggering, do you need to sit and keep an eye on it, is it going to be a couple of hours most likely, that kind of thing, okay? All right, so from 42.85, we put in a swing low down at 42.71. 71 to 85, that's going to be 14 points. And the NASDAQ pays $20 per point. So that was a 14-point drop. Important prices, important areas tested. And down we go to a swing low of 42.51.50. Okay. So 85, if it had gone all the way to 50, that would have been 30 points, but it didn't quite make it to 30. So we'll just call it 28. Okay? 28. All right. And then it does it again. This time we drop to 73 and a quarter. So from 85 to 73, that's basically 12 points. And I don't think I'll go through and count every single one of those. You can, count them up on your own chart. You know what the number is now. This one gave more than 12. This one actually went all the way down to 42.69, so that would be 16 points. And then we came down again and we put in a low at 64, so that would be 21. Okay, this move here, 21 points, $20 per point. So everyone had an opportunity to do well with the NASDAQ. What do we got left? Let's take a look. Gold. Okay, gold's been... No, we didn't have a big move in gold today, nothing as I recall. But let's see what happened overnight. Okay, let's put our marker. Is that 2000? It is. Okay, so what we're looking to do is we want to buy 1272, which happens almost right away, 30 minutes later. 1272. Okay. All right. So CTA buy 1272. All right. First move up takes us to a swing high of 73.90. So that's 19 ticks. At $10 per tick, it's $190 per contract. If you're trading the 2420 blueprint, that was double what you needed to make your daily goal, almost double, of $100 per contract per day. In just that one market, that one move, there you go. And then important prices, of course. We do get tested from 72 to 77.3. 72 to 77. Let's just call that $500 per contract available. 500 per contract available. Remember, $1 move in gold pays you $100. $1 move in crude pays you $1,000. And the margins aren't too terribly different, quite frankly. Okay. Now this, I'm not going to measure that swing high because, it's a nice swing high. It's all the way up at 79. That's a $700 per contract move. But because of the way this thing drew back, I'm going to pass there. Let's not do that. The sell side of this trade was 66. Okay. And so the first drop was 2 ticks, and then it reversed back up to 69. If you took that trade, you may have gotten stopped out. Now, if you put your stop loss way up here, that might be more risk than you should be entertaining. Maybe you want to drop this down to a 5-minute chart and see if there isn't a trade available where the structure of the market is a little more forgiving. Okay? All right. Now, the next move down, we do drop to 63.1. So that's going to be about, it's going to be 8.9 points. If I figured it right in my head. And then over here, we drop to a low 51.50. So from 66, to 61.50. It's going to be 4. Wait a minute. Have I lost my marbles, man? 1266 down to 1263. Yeah, right. 1266 down to 1263. Now that's not 8.9 points, that's 2.9 points. Actually, it's 29 ticks. How about that? $10 a tick. Nothing wrong with that. Just glad I caught the error. Now, this one dropped a little bit further. This one dropped from 66 down to 61.5. So that's that's 45 ticks at $10 per tick. Okay, now we're cooking. Okay, next, we're almost done. Almost done. We only have left bonds and beans. Now the bonds, if I'm not mistaken, barn burner. Yeah, baby. Okay, remember yesterday we had no trigger. Now, little basic technical analysis. When we have a huge move like we did today, there's the opportunity that, or the possibility that tomorrow is going to be a day of consolidation. Yesterday being a day of consolidation where we did not get a trigger, exactly. Today we bust loose, okay? So since we busted loose today, don't be too surprised if tomorrow we see some consolidation. All right. So what was the alert for the bonds? What a move, man. Look at that. By 162.21. Oh, this made somebody mighty happy. Honey, pack your bags. We're going on vacation. But it's not July yet. It's July somewhere. 162.21. Give me another tick. 162.21. Okay, now bonds pay 31.25 per tick. There are 32 ticks at a point. 31.25 times 32 is $1,000 per point per contract. Okay? All right. Let me write this number down. It is bonds by 162.21. Just write me and tell me what you're going to do with the money. No, I'm serious. I want to know. By 162.21. Okay. So the first swing high, we went up to 29. Okay, so that's 8 ticks. How many ticks do you need if you're just trading the 2420 blueprint? 4. 31.25 times 4 is $125 per contract. The 2420 blueprint, the goal is $100 per contract per day. And then once you increase your account balance by $2,000, you add your second contract, and then you stay on a steady schedule of adding contracts at the right time, if you qualify, with the end goal or the end game being that, well, the name gives it away, the 2420 blueprint. It's designed to take you from 1 to 20 contracts over a period of 24 months. Means you got to do your part, means you got to show up every day, means you got to work hard, means you got to obey the rules, especially the rules you write in your business plan and your trading plan, and we help you with that. We provide you with information. Okay? We tell you what a good trading business plan is going to contain. We tell you what a good trading plan itself. We've got a business plan and a trading plan. 2 completely separate documents. In the business plan, it's going to you're going to define how often you're going to revisit your trading plan, because we don't change our trading plan every other day. We sure don't change it in the middle of the day. Okay? I would not recommend messing with your trading plan in less than 30 days. So in your business plan, you might write it up that every 30 days, my trading plan will come up for a full review. Okay, now define before the fact, not after, what the parameters are that you're looking for. Okay, so is your trading plan meeting the expectations? It should be defined what those expectations are. If it's not meeting the expectations, then it should define what steps will be taken to bring it in line. You have to make, now this is really important, make sure, absolutely sure, that you do not have any unrealistic expectations mixed up in there, okay? If you're trying to take 20 points a day out of the S&P, that's a flawed plan, okay? There are days that the S&P will run 20 points, but there's more days that it doesn't than days that it does. And so we want, whatever our goals are, we want them to be realistic. Let me send this real quick. Okay. In fact, I know you want me to measure this, and I'm going to measure it in just a second. But let me show you this. I want you to read this. You've never read it. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? There it is. Okay. Come on. Go to Google. Yep. There we go. Now, search. Goals for Emini traders. Let's see what pops up. Okay, after the advertisements, the first article, 4 critical goal setting tips for Emini traders. Now, the search was goals for Emini traders. 4 critical goal setting tips for Emini traders. This is an article that's actually been published on a number of different sites by permission. And so, whether you read it on the CFRN site or somewhere else, what I want to make sure is that you read it, okay? Partners, you're going to recognize that part of this is part of the material that you receive to assist you in writing your business plan and your trading plan, okay? I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but number 1, goals must be clearly defined, okay? What do I mean by that? Well, if I ask you, what sort of money do you want to make from your trading business? Well, I want to make a lot. That's that's my game show buzzer where you got it wrong. That won't work, okay? Goals must be clearly defined, okay? I want to make $20,000 a month gross or net. It's your business. Is that reasonable? Yes. Is it going to happen your first month? No. I mean, you know what? Anything can happen. People win the lottery every week, but don't bet the mortgage. Don't bet next month's mortgage on that happening. Okay. But if that should be a longer term goal. Okay. At what time frame? And I'll work with you on those kinds of numbers in a private mentoring session. Okay. Now, I'm not a tax accountant. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a financial planner. I'm some guy with a radio network and a microphone and some charts and a really awesome method for trading futures, okay? But there's no other pigskins hanging on my wall, okay? So what I tell you is the same thing that I'll tell anyone else. We'll look at the markets you want to trade. We'll look at what the average daily ranges have been, what sort of opportunities have been available, just to help you fill in the blanks if you want to do a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year kind of plan, okay? All right. Goals must be clearly defined. Number 2, goals must be realistic. Is it possible to make $50,000 your first year as a trader? Yes. Is it possible to make $500,000? Yes. Can I make $1 million? Well, again, the answer is yes, because with trading, literally anything is possible, you know. But let me assure you that the chance of this happening is slim to none, okay? I don't want to rain on your parade, but I do want you to get a good sense of reality here. Sometimes people throw numbers at me not because they're Looney Tunes, but because they don't have any kind of a benchmark figure. They don't know what's realistic and what isn't. You follow what I'm saying? Like, if you told somebody you're going to shoot a 20 under par tomorrow when you play golf, they're probably going to laugh because I don't even golf, but I don't think you can really do a 20 under par unless you got all hole-in-ones or something. I don't know. So sometimes a person just needs to be educated as to what's realistic, what isn't. And so if that's you, if you're brand new, then when we have our first mentoring session, we'll talk about what's realistic and what's not. Number 3, goals must be attainable. Now that sounds an awful lot like number 2, but if you break this down and you read it, you'll see that 2 and 3 are very different. Just like the business plan and the trading plan are very different. Number 2 and number 3 are very different. And then the 4th and final important goal for Emini traders. Your goals must be measurable, okay? At the end of the day, you got to know whether you are succeeding in your endeavor. Maybe you're a dad, maybe you've been on the vacation where the kids are in the back of the car going, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Right? That's aggravating and frustrating. But how much more aggravating and frustrating would it be if instead of you saying no sternly, what if you said, I don't know? So your 7-year-old kid looks at you and go, hey, Dad, I said, are we there yet? And you just shrug your shoulders and go, I don't know. Dad, what do you mean? You're an adult. You've got the keys to the car. You got a map. You got a phone that talks to you. Are we there yet? I don't know. See, your goal must be measurable. I know that some people think that making money and having ideas about making money it gets confusing. I don't want you to get confused. I think you should come to work every day with a specific goal in mind, and that you should sit down and go to work. Why would it be any different than any other job? Okay? Now, some could say, well, when Salvador Dali sat down to paint such and such a painting, he didn't know that someday it would sell at auction for $80 million. Valid argument, okay? I have to argue with myself these days, but that's okay. I can live with it. That's a really good example. Salvador Dali did a painting. It looked like he was on acid. I think he was. And later it sold for some enormous sum of money, probably from some Silicon Valley guy who sold his app to Zuckerberg for $10 billion. All right? Fair enough. Enjoy the art. However, in most businesses. Okay? Like if you go to buy a Subway franchise, when you sit down with the people in the franchise department at Subway, they're going to talk to you about projected earnings, okay? Now, they're not just pulling numbers out of the air. They'll say, based on this location, based upon the number of cars that pass by this intersection every day and will see your sign, based upon the anchor tenant and the amount of foot traffic that is brought in to this shopping center on a daily basis, they can project with uncanny accuracy, on average, how many sandwiches you're going to sell a day. On a Friday, on a Saturday, on a Sunday. It's amazing what they can do. They have the benefit of computers, to run the numbers, but they've also done their homework. They have sat out there and counted those cars. Now, they don't actually hand count them anymore. You've all seen the little cable running across the street, little tiny thing, and there's a box up on a telephone pole or up on some kind of pole over there, and it's doing a car count. How many cars? See, that's valuable information. When a real estate developer wants to market a piece of property, he wants to be able to tell prospective tenants, anchor tenants, what the traffic count is on a daily basis. And so, the guys at Subway, I'm just using one example, okay? They're able to tell a prospective franchisee how much they could potentially earn based upon not pie in the sky, but hard numbers, footprints, foot count, tire prints. You follow me? So your goal must be measurable, okay? Don't be embarrassed because you're in it for the money. Don't be embarrassed because you run a for-profit business. There's nothing wrong with that. Any good work that you want to do in your life, any ministry that you want to be involved in, guess what? It costs money. And it's got to come from somewhere. Either you're going to earn it, or you're going to inherit it, or you're going to beg for it. Nobody wants to beg, but people in ministry have been doing it for years. It's called passing the hat. How does the saying go? Dig deep or dig till it hurts, or however it goes. Anyway, let it be measurable so that you know if your business is growing, if you're succeeding, if you maybe you've done a 1, 3, 5-year plan. How would you know if you're on track to make your 3-year goal if you can't measure your daily results? Well, that'll freak me out and knock my head out of the game, and then I might mess up tomorrow. Okay, let's get over that. When we're putting together our 10 days in SIM, where we make $100, 10 days in a row, back to back, okay, 10 trades or less. So we're going to work all that stuff out. It's very cathartic. We just get that out. Get it out, get it out, get it out. Now, once we go live, we may have to go back to SIM. That's not a walk of shame. It's a wise business decision, and it sure beats the heck out of bleeding out on the trading floor. I mean, we'll literally grab you by the ankles and pull you back in. So we don't want to see you blow up your account. There's no reason that you should blow up your account. It's not, that's old school stuff. Oh, you're not a real trader unless you've, blown up at least name a number of accounts. Well, I used to buy into that too because I had blown up a bunch, so it kind of made me feel better, right? But now I realize that that was people making excuses for their lack of discipline, and that if a person developed a good, healthy sense of discipline, they didn't have to go through that anymore. So I hope you'll take the time to read the article. Again, all you have to do is Google, what did I Google? Goals for Emini traders. Everybody can remember that, okay? All right. So now we're going to measure the bonds, look at the beans, and I'm going to get the heck out of here. So this first move was good for 8 ticks. Then important prices, important areas are almost always tested. Now, I'm going to admit, it came back and touched it. I like to see it go 1 tick below. It touched it. If you took your 8 and said, I'm good for the day, no problem. It's entirely up to you. Okay? All right. So from 162.21 to 163.21. $163.21. Where are you? One more notch down. There it is, 163.21. That's $1,000 per contract per day. So I'm just going to say 1K available. Okay. If you didn't take K out, don't feel bad. All right. So 162.21 to 163.21. The market made $1,000 per contract available. At 164.21, it made $2,000 per contract available. $164, one more tick. 164.21. Okay. So 2K available. Would you still be in that trade? Based on what? That's not a rhetorical question. I want you to ask yourself that question. Would you still be in that trade? If you're trailing your stop behind the BBC, okay, we've not closed below it, but I'll tell you what we did do. We did it here, and then we did it again here. We had a bearish close below the step line, okay? Now, we can see that this was a leg and a retrace and a leg and a retrace and a leg and a retrace, and there's every good possibility that we'll get another leg. But if there was 1,000 plus on the table, and then you got this close below, you closed below the stop line, and you say, you know what? I had $1,300 on the table. I got 9. This thing may be getting ready to put in another leg, but I don't think I'm going to stick around and find out. I'm going to take my 8, 9, whatever it is, and go. I'm going to get it and go. Nothing wrong with that. Okay? If you try to milk every last tick out of a trade, it will end up costing you more money than it makes you. Okay? All right, this is our last one, soybeans. What does it say? 84.78. Let's go to 2000. Okay, there's 2000. All right. Now again, we're looking to buy 84. Swing high here is 84.25. You got stopped out. True story. On the short side, sell 878. Okay. Wow, I nailed it right on the head. Hey. It doesn't happen very often. Okay, so we come down 878. In order to get our 2 points for the day, if we're trading the blueprint, we need to get to 76. And so the swing low was 75.25. So this was 2.75. Okay. Then we got, well, this didn't stop out here because the trigger was 78. You'd have to go all the way up to 80 to get stopped out. And so this trade made, oh boy, from 78 to the swing, and there's 2 points. So you had two and 3/4 points, and then you had 2 points. You did not get stopped out here because we use an 8-tick hard stop. If that's how you're trading it, okay. If you're trading the beans that way, don't know that you are. And we just triggered over here 840, 884 again. So it's possible that you're in a trade right now long on beans, but beans are closing, so I'd probably get out. Get out, get out. Because when the beans close, if that thing could open up, locked up, limit up, or limit down, if you don't know what that means, call Bert at Daniels Trading, 866-928-3310. Let him walk you through that. It won't happen to you in the indices, but in soybeans, you can find yourself locked limit up or limit down. In other words, beans are only allowed to move so far in the course of a day, and they shut them down. And so if you're in a position and they get locked at limit up or down, you're stuck. You could be losing money hand over fist, and you can't get out of the trade. No fun. Always, always, unless you're really certain about what you're doing, or you have the guidance of someone that you really trust, okay, be flat those beans at close of business, okay? It's really important. All right. Is there anything in the chat box that I have not covered? Let me see. Yeah, Marie, I'm sorry that I didn't give you a short side on the Russell trade. My apologies. You know, I'm sorry. I already covered that, but I'm still sorry. Emmanuel, I'll have to send you an email on that. Dwayne, can you go over the entry for a CTA trade? Do you enter on a close, below, above, or as soon as the market moves through the CTA? How do you know how far away to place your stop? Or is it always $100 risk like in the trading room? No, Wayne, what you need to do, if you're a Concierge Trade Alert client, you need to book a personal mentoring session with me and let me go through all of the different ways. I'll teach you 2 or 3 different ways of placing your stop and managing your risk, and then you'll go with the one that you're most comfortable with. So if you're a current and active client and you have CTA privileges, or you are a CTA client, go to the mentoring page. Let me show everyone how to get there, because that's kind of important. Go to CFRN.net / Emini Personal Mentoring. Okay? CFRN.net, Emini Personal Mentoring. Kind of gives you an idea of what the whole personal mentoring thing is about. Pick a time and a date that works for your schedule, and then click Book Now. Okay? It's a really simple process. It'll ask you a couple questions, kind of to prepare me for the meeting so I'll know what we're going to be talking about. And your phone number. Now, what'll happen is about 5 minutes before the meeting, check your email. And in your email, you'll have an email from me. The subject line will say CFRN Personal Mentoring. And the body of the email will simply contain a link to a private GoToMeeting. And so when it's time for your appointment, you just click that link, and I literally send it 5 minutes before your meeting. So don't think I've forgotten you. I haven't. When I'm all caught up, I send them ahead of time. But when I'm running like crazy trying to catch up the way I am here of late, about 5 minutes before your meeting, you'll get the email. You'll click. You'll get in there. Have your headset on. Make sure your headset works. If you don't have a headset, go grab one. You get a really good one for $20 at Kmart, Target, Walmart, an office supply store, and you can use your phone if you want. I mean, if you have unlimited minutes on your cell phone, when you go to log into the meeting, it will give you the option of computer, audio, or phone. And if you choose the phone option, it'll give you a number to dial. Dial it, put that baby on speaker, and I'm happy to do the meeting that way. I'll have on my headset. Well, I'll be sitting in front of this big microphone, the big radio microphone with my headphones on, talking to you, and you'll be on your speakerphone, and you'll be able to see my charts. And then if you have a question about your own charts, hey, Dwayne, do I have this set up right? I'll flip it around and make you the presenter, okay? So coming in, you'll be able to see my charts. If during the time that we're together, we decide it would be a good idea for me to look at your charts and make sure you got everything set up properly, we'll flip it around and do that, okay? Dwayne, I joined in late today. I was wondering if you had any guests scheduled for the show later this week. Well, on Thursday, I've got Burwell. Ed was with us last week. Burwell will be here Thursday. Garrett may be with us tomorrow. I've got a host of guys that, may come and spend a few minutes with me here and there over the next, for as long as we find them interesting and entertaining. The reason I had to scale things back is because I'm just booked wall to wall with mentoring sessions. Like this afternoon, I get a chance to take I got up this morning for the opening bell, and I've been working nonstop. I haven't taken a break. I'm going to go take a quick break, fix myself a sandwich for lunch, and then all afternoon I'm back to back to back with mentoring sessions. So I don't have time. We used to do those long leisurely radio shows, 3, 4. If you go to the Google Plus page, you'll find even some 5-hour radio shows, okay? Because things have been so good, and because we've had so many new partners join up with us since the beginning of the year, and since I've really started to drive home the point that if you're not consistently profitable, then why aren't you in a personal mentoring session with me? Because if you get into a personal mentoring session with me, I'm not some magician, okay? I'm not going to sprinkle pixie dust on your head and make you profitable. I don't have that ability. But I'll teach you enough about what we do so that you can get your points, okay? It's really that's all this is about, teaching you how to drive, okay? I want you to be able to go to the store and come home without getting in a wreck, okay? I want you to be able to go out there every day, get your points for the day, not blow up your account, not skin your nose, not get hurt. Okay? So, if you're not consistently profitable, you should be booking a mentoring session. All right? Keep in mind, I don't have a lot of time for each session. So, if your problem runs deep, we might have to break it up over a couple, 3 sessions. Because as soon as I hang up from you, I got somebody else, waiting to talk to me. In fact, yesterday, I had like a couple people logged in at the same time because I used the same link all afternoon. And so I had to ask a couple people, could you please come back in 10 minutes because I hadn't finished up with the previous person. I want to give all of you the attention that you need and deserve, and I will, okay? If it means I have to do Saturdays, I will, but I don't want to, and I know my wife doesn't want me to. So let's just work really hard to be on point, on time, have your questions written down, make sure your headset's working properly beforehand, just so that we'll exchange pleasantries, of course. I'll ask you how little Johnny's doing, and, how's his little league team, and blah, blah. No, I won't. If it's our first mentoring session together, the first thing I'll do is I'll say, tell me what sort of experience you have as a trader. What instruments have you traded, if any? And what type of training have you had, if any? So you'll tell me that, and I'll say, okay, now where do you think you're at right now? And you'll say, well, I make money some days, I lose money some days. Or you'll say, I'm not profitable at all. I just can't, Okay, well, probably we need to get you into the mentoring program. But I want you to understand, okay, these personal mentoring sessions, this is not a glorified sales pitch. No way. We don't have salesmen. We don't have a call center. And my selling days are way behind me. Okay, I just don't need that pressure and aggravation these days. If you want to be a part of what we're doing, I'll tell you all about it. I'll explain it to you. But what I won't do is I won't try to close you. Okay, I just won't. It's not worth it. Because the amount of money that's involved, it's not worth it. I mean, if you want to be a part of our community, man, we want you. We really want you, because the larger we grow, the stronger we become, the more lives we touch, the more change we affect. I mean, it's awesome. But I'm not going to beg somebody to come be a part of the community or try to twist your arm. Like at the, well, what would it take to have you drive this off the lot today? You're not going to hear that out of my lips. I'll answer your questions as best I can. And if we can't get your problem or situation rectified today in its entirety, I'll tell you, go look for the next open spot on the mentoring page and book another session, okay? So it might take us 2 or 3 sessions to work through your issue, whatever it is. Now, if you're on the trial, I'll give you an hour of my time. Beyond that, if you want, if you're not going to become a partner, if you're not going to go through the mentoring program, I can't take time away from those who have made the commitment. But I will give you an hour at no charge. No close, no credit card required, no arm twisting, no nothing. I'll just talk to you and try to give you the best advice I can. And I won't ask you for any money, okay? Then you'll decide, after having a conversation with me and after completing your trial, you'll decide whether or not this is right for you. Remember, we don't promise Bentleys, fur coats, and gold teeth. There's no get-rich-quick overnight here. We work hard. We bill slow. We qualify before we even go live. We go live with just 1 contract. We have to increase our account balance by $2,000 before we can add a second contract. Then we follow the blueprint. Okay? This is how you build a trading business. a consistently profitable trading business. The kind of trading business that you don't have to wake up every morning with a knot in your stomach wondering, is today the day I'm going to blow it all up? And those days are over. If you hitch your wagon to what we're doing, you don't have to worry about that anymore. As long as you play by the rules, okay? The rules say if you're not profitable, you got to get back in sim. You can't bleed out on the trading floor. That makes me look bad. I don't want that, okay? Now, I said earlier in the show, what other people think of me is none of my business. That's true. It isn't. But still, I don't want you to hurt yourself. I want you to be successful and productive, and I want you to be happy, and I want you to be able to give back to the world. Guess what? Broke people don't create jobs. Broke people can't give back to society. Broke people are no fun. I mean, so let's get it together. Let's get moving. And then you'll be in a position when you do come across somebody who's down and out, you can actually help them. You can put a smile on their face. And then they are fun to be around. You know, I have gained some of the greatest insights in life from homeless men and women. As they would come around my office downtown, or as they would come around our church downtown, some of the wisdom from things that they said, from the lives that they had lived, taught me so much more than I had ever gotten from any preacher preaching down to me from a big pulpit. True story. You never know where your next life lesson is going to come from. It could be the pastor on Sunday. Could be the bag boy at the grocery store. Could be the guy that puts a new tire in your car. You never know. Be ready. All right? Okay. I totally understand. Was just curious if Thursdays were going to be a regular thing, alternating with Ed and Burwell. Yeah, they will, Joel. Ed and Burwell will still be with us, alternating on Thursdays. I sent an email yesterday to you. Oh, yeah, I think... Hang on a minute. I think your email is the one that got me all worked up. Maybe not. Hang on a minute. Let me go look. Yesterday was the 7th. Oh, okay. Your email wasn't the one that got me all worked up. It was somebody who was being very complimentary, and we'd had a meeting, and things had really turned around for him. And we have two people with the same first name. Your email said, "Is there any? I'm getting ready to go. I'm getting my account set up to go live. Blah blah. Is there anything that I should be aware of before I sign off on the disclosure agreements?" Now, you're opening with a brokerage firm that I personally don't know the folks at Ninja Global Futures, and so I don't know what their paperwork says. In the industry, it's all pretty standardized. Even though you're going with a different broker, I bet if you called Bert at 866-928-3310, he would probably tell you if there's any kind of red flags or anything you need to be aware of. You might also go to the NFA website, National Futures Association, and see what the record is of that particular brokerage. No one's ever actually asked me that question before. Is there anything that I should be aware of before I sign off on the disclosure agreements? Not that I'm aware of, Jake. I think they're pretty standardized across the industry. But I know that Bert, like I said, even though you're going a different way, He would give you an honest answer. He would tell you if there's something you should look out for. Okay? Okay. And I'm serious. He won't act weird. Just tell him, say, Dwayne said on the radio that even though I'm opening an account somewhere else, you know, that you would tell me if there's any red flags I should look out for. And he will be who he is. And just, you'll see. Call him, okay? All right. I got to run, guys. I got to get my little break in. 866 928 3310. 866 928 3310. Named Bert. Him or Leslie, either one, will be happy to talk with you, and they're both the salt of the earth. I'm telling you. Well, I've said it on this show so many times, I don't need to say it again. They know how I feel about them. And, oh, look at that. Look at that. Look how close we came to triggering this. But I know that there's traders who got in on this anyway, because you know how to draw a trend line and stuff. All right, guys. Listen, thank you so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.
Hello and welcome to the Mind of a Trader. My name is Steve Croft, and I want to thank you for taking a few moments to try and impact and enhance your trading performance, because that's what we do. Each time that we get together is to add a little bit about how we think when we trade, how we think when we plan, when we execute. Even if we're just starting, it's so important for us to really get on the right path from the very beginning. And that's what I want to focus on for just a few moments. If this is your first time being with us, and maybe you're a brand new trader, you're probably right now working in a demo account or a virtual account. You're dealing with the live market. You're dealing with the real movement, and you're trying to apply the strategies that you're learning in your classes, but you're not having to trade right now with real money. Now, everyone who is a successful trader always has a demo account in place. Now, why would you say that? If someone's been trading for 15, 20, 30 years, why would they still be trading on a demo account at times? Your demo account is where you try to put in place the real environment of what it's going to be like when you apply real money to that exact strategy. So if I have been trading for 5, 10, 15, 20 years and I'm very successful and I come across a new strategy for a different aspect of my trading, I wouldn't want to try it with real money right away. I'd want to prove it, put it to the test. Stick it in the oven. Fire it up. See what happens if it really stands the test of actual market volatility. When I have a proven success and track record, then I will apply those exact same steps with real money. Now, what does that mean to a new trader? Well, here's something that's happened over and over again around the world. A person starts out, they enroll in some classes, they hear about the excitement of trading, and now they open up their first demo account. Now, they start out and they tell us that, well, when I get ready to start trading with real money, I'm going to open up an account with $500 or maybe $1,000 or maybe $2,500, and I'm going to trade on a mini account. But they start with a demo account with $50,000, and they start trading all these big lots and start making this tremendously high amounts of money or high losses either way. And then when they get to trading real, and they're very successful, and they open up that $500 or $1,000 account, all of a sudden the success doesn't have as much excitement to it. Why? Because you didn't use your demo account to truly prepare you for your live trading. If you're going to open up a live account with $50,000, then use a $50,000 demo account. If you're going to open up a live account with $2,500 and it's going to be a mini account, then make sure you use a mini account and only use $2,500 of the amount that they give you. Let's say it's a $10,000 mini account. Then your zero, if you will, would be $7,500. $10,000 minus $2,500 would be $7,500. So if you ever went down to $7,500, you would have been busted. Another way you can do it is try to lose $7,500 and get it down to $2,500 and then start trading for real on your demo account. What I'm trying to get across here is it's so important that you use a demo account to truly put a live account experience in front of you. If you're gonna down the road only start with 1 or 2 or 3 lots, then that's all you need to trade on a demo account. I'm preparing my mind. I'm getting the environment set of what it's going to feel like. See, now, why is this so important? Well, let's put it into a live scenario here. Let's say that you've set a goal that you're going to look at your trading journal. Once you've hit a specific successful track record goal, then the next day you're going to start with a live trading account. Okay? What would be the best way? Let's say you hit your goal on a Wednesday. So Thursday you get up and you start trading live. What would be the best way to assure that there's not even a blip on the radar difference from Wednesday to Thursday? Well, I would want my Thursday to feel like Wednesday. That means when I open up my charts and my trade station on Thursday, I'm going to trade exactly like I did on Wednesday. Same amount of lots, same amount of money, same exact strategy, same rules and objectives and commitment and discipline I did on Wednesday. And I do it on Thursday. If I do it that way, guess what? My success should be no different because I'm doing exactly the same thing I did with virtual money, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing with my real money. So, bottom line, use your demo account to prepare yourself for a live account. Don't use a demo account recklessly. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't try some unusual things in your demo account because, yes, the losses don't hurt you. So if you're going to try a new strategy, try all the things, and it doesn't hurt you to have the losses because you can learn and fine-tune it. But what I'm trying to get across is as you're using and moving towards a live account, get yourself to start trading exactly like you would with real money. Then when you open your live account and you follow the same strategies, it will be a psychological, emotional, and even a physical similarity that will let you go down a successful path. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice perfects what you've been practicing. So let's make sure that we practice what we're going to do in real time. So let's perfect our practice and then use that perfect practice in reality. This will help you to become a better trader if you're just starting. If you're right now in maybe a slump, go back to your demo account and get yourself back in tune to all the rules, the commitments, the strategies, the steps that you know that create success. If you're a very successful trader, use your demo account on maybe some new strategies. Back test it, play with it, and add that new strategy to your already successful portfolio of trading styles that you use. The demo account is probably the most powerful tool that we can use if we use it powerfully and correctly. So have a great week this week. Practice with purpose. Practice with focus. Practice with discipline. Practice with commitment. And then put that practice into action in a live account, and you'll see a dramatic change in your success and performance with the real money. Let's all get together next time on The Mind of a Trader.
How are you? Good. My name is Blake Chilton. I am the student minister here, and we're going to be hanging out in Exodus 33 this morning. Exodus 33. Give you a little background on what's happened prior to this chapter. God has brought his people, the Israelites, out of Egypt, and he's taking them on a course to the Promised Land, a land flowing with milk and honey. It's supposed to be their own land that they can inhabit and kind of take over, and it's going to be great. And along the way, they have fallen into some sin. Moses is their representative, and he has ascended Mount Sinai and is meeting with the Lord up there, receiving the 10 Commandments from God. And in the midst of this dialogue between God and Moses, God says, hey, your people down the hill have gotten into a little bit of trouble. They've gotten in a little bit of sin. And what they had done is they had gotten frustrated or tired of waiting on Moses, tired of waiting on what, his revelation from the Lord and what he had heard and all that stuff. He had been gone for about 40 days, and so they said, hey, to Aaron, which was Moses' right-hand man, they said, hey, would you make us a god? We want to worship. So would you make us a god? And so Aaron's like, okay, give me your jewelry. And so they throw in their jewelry, and they form a golden calf, and the people begin to worship this golden calf. And so God is angered by this because they've fallen into idolatry. God is a jealous God and wants us to worship him and him alone. And so he sends Moses back down to kind of handle that thing. Not only is God mad, but Moses is mad, and Moses kind of takes care of business when he gets down to camp. There is war in the camp. There is death in the camp. It's gone really badly. And so that's where we are starting in verse 1 of chapter 33. So let's go there. It says, the Lord said to Moses, depart, go up from here, you and the people whom you have brought up out of the land of Egypt, to the land of which I swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, saying, to your offspring I will give it. And I will send an angel before you, and I will drive out the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Go up to a land flowing with milk and honey. Now, I think this is an interesting text right here because he says, hey, I'm going to send an angel before you. Now, I know for me, if God were to ever tell me he's going to send an angel before me as I'm like starting my day, I'd be pretty stoked about that. That would be good news, because my understanding of an angel is not like our culture's understanding. It's not like baby Cupid, right, with a little crossbow, a little bow and arrow. It's not the naked baby angel on your family Bible, okay? The biblical angels that we see in Scripture are these huge, massive, manly creatures. Like huge. Like think the biggest dude at the gym just with more clothes on, all right? And probably a little less of a tan. I'm not certain about that, but that's what I'm thinking of. And they're just these huge, ferocious creatures, and they're probably wielding some kind of weapon, like a sword or something. All right? So for me, that makes me excited when I'm going, oh, God's going to send an angel before you. Like I can't imagine if I got a tough meeting, on a Tuesday or something, and God's like, hey, don't worry, I'm sending an angel before you. I'd be stoked. I'd be like, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, that's legit. Thank you, Lord. All right? The people do not have this response. All right? Check it out. Verse 3, go up to a land flowing with milk and honey, and I will not go up among you, lest I consume you on the way, for you are a stiff-necked people. And verse 4, when the people heard this disastrous word, they mourned. All right? They're not excited about it. As cool as an angel is, they're going, no, God, we want you. We want your presence. Your presence is better than an angel, than a legion of angels, whatever else you could give us. We want your presence. We want you to lead us up. All right? But God's upset with them. Did you hear that language? I'm going to consume you. All right? That's kind of scary. I've never been in a fight with a guy and the guy go, I'm about to consume you. All right? I'd get a little nervous. But that's what's going on here. But what's crazy is Moses enters in and goes before the Lord. Check out in verse 7. Now Moses used to take the tent and pitch it outside the camp, far from the camp, and he called it the tent of meeting. We'll come back to that phrase here in a minute. And everyone who sought the Lord would go out to the tent of meeting, which was outside the camp. And whenever Moses went out to the tent, all the people would rise up, and each would stand at his tent door and watch Moses until he had gone into the tent. When Moses entered the tent, the pillar of cloud would descend and stand at the entrance of the tent, and the Lord would speak with Moses. When all the people saw the pillar of cloud standing at the entrance of the tent, all the people would rise up and worship, each at his tent door. Thus the Lord used to speak to Moses face to face, as a man speaks with his friend. Now I think this is crazy here, because the tent of meeting is a special place. It is a holy place. We see in a couple chapters earlier in Exodus 29, 42 through 46, a little bit more vivid description of this. And it says, this is where God met with the people. This is where he speaks. This is where he would sanctify them by his glory. All right, there's some amazing stuff going on in this tent of meeting. Okay? This is where they saw God face to face, where he spoke with them, that kind of stuff. So Moses knows, when I enter this tent, I'm going to meet with the Lord. Like, he's not just going out there to take a nap or something. He's going in there to meet with the Lord. Which is crazy, because that's a little different than Moses' character early on in this book. You remember back in chapter 3, and if you spent any time in Sunday school in your entire life, you've heard of the story of the burning bush. Remember that? Moses just kind of wandering out in the desert, comes across a bush that is burning, but it's not being consumed. Right? And he goes up to the bush, and he's like checking it out, and the Lord begins to speak to him and reveal himself through this burning bush. Pretty crazy story. All right? And all of a sudden, the Lord speaks to Moses and says, hey, take off your sandals, for the place you're standing is holy ground. And it said that Moses hid himself, hid his face from the Lord. All right? God's not mad at the burning bush, right? It's just kind of a freaky deal that's going on, right? But here in chapter 33, God is angry. He's angry at his people because they have begun to get into idols. They've begun to worship things that are not true gods. And here Moses enters in. It's kind of a crazy deal. Like, I remember when I was growing up, I remember there were times that I would come home from school or from playing with my buddies, and my mom would kind of warn me. She'd be at the door, like, waiting for me, and she'd warn me. She'd go, hey, Dad had a rough day, okay? Dad's a little upset. Just kind of watch out, right? Now, I was smart enough to know that, number one, he probably wasn't that upset, but she was just warning me so I didn't go make him upset, right? Don't worry, I've been to counseling for that. But anyways, I was smart enough to know, hey, this is not the time to go jump on Dad's lap and, give him a noogie and mess with him and ask him questions and, play 20 questions with him. I mean, he's trying to chill out. He's trying to blow off some steam, just kind of watch some TV, whatever. Like, I knew that. And so I kind of tiptoed around the house, or maybe go back outside, or maybe go to my room, hide under furniture, that kind of stuff, right? I mean, I knew enough because I didn't want to incur my dad's wrath. But here, Moses is totally different. Even though he knows God is upset, he knows God is angered, he enters in. He approaches God. Now, what's different from Moses in Exodus 3, when he encounters God in the burning bush and he hid his face, he hid himself, and in Exodus 33, when he knows God's angry and he enters in anyways. The difference is that he understands the grace of God. He understands the grace of God. One of my favorite verses is Hebrews 4:16. It says this, let us with confidence draw near to the throne of grace. Let us with confidence draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in the time of need. You see, one of my greatest fears for us as a church and as a group of people that are trying to follow the Lord on this journey, following the Lord, is that we misunderstand the grace of God. Because when you misunderstand the grace of God, and I see this from students all the way to adults, when you misunderstand the grace of God and you get into sin or you get into temptation or you begin to buy into the lies of the enemy, the lies of the devil, and you begin to believe those shame messages that are being poured out on you, and you begin to accept that guilt, You don't run to God, rather you run away from God. And I see this all the time, from youth to adults, like I said, where people get into sin or they feel some temptation or maybe they slip up and things haven't been going well, and then all of a sudden they feel like they can't go to the Lord anymore. As if your relationship with God is based on what you can do anyways. You see, the grace of God understands that God loves us regardless. You see, Jesus knew exactly what he was getting into when he died on the cross for our sins. And I love what Chandler says up here occasionally, where he says, God doesn't love some future version of you better. That's so good. It's almost like we think that God doesn't love us if we fall into sin, but God already knew you were going to fall into sin. God knows you better than yourself. He knows the exact number of the hairs on your head. He knows your heart. He knows your temptations. He knows your struggles. He knows where your leanings are. He knows where you're going to wander. He knows all those things, and he still loves you. He still sent Jesus, and Jesus still died for sins. That's understanding the grace of God. That there's nothing that I can do that can separate me from that love. It's Romans 8. No height nor depth, nothing can separate us from the love of God. Not you slipping into sin or you having some bad temptations and really desiring something that's ungodly and unholy. It doesn't matter. That's understanding the grace of God, and that's what allows Moses to enter in even when he knows God is upset. Even when he understands, man, God is angry at us, at our people, for our idolatrous hearts. That's understanding the grace of God, and it allows us to enter into God's presence, because we need God's presence more than we know. Let's keep going, because Moses doesn't just stop there. He doesn't just enter into the tent of meeting. He actually begins to ask God for stuff and begins to request things of God. Look in verse 12. Moses said to the Lord, "See, you say to me, bring up this people, but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. Yet you have said, I know you by name, and you have found favor in my sight. Now therefore, if I have found favor in your sight, God, please show me now your ways, that I may know you, in order to find favor in your sight. Consider too that this nation is your people." And God said in verse 14, "My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest." All right, so let me summarize that real quick. Moses is saying, hey, please show us your favor. Do we still have your favor? Even though all this has gone on, even though all the sin, all this stuff, do we still have your favor? And if that's not enough, remember your people. Remember the Israelites. They bear your name. I mean, people know that they are the Lord's. They are Yahweh's people from back in the time when they came out of Egypt. Everybody knew that those are God's people. And God says, yes, my presence will go with you. But I love what Moses says in verse 15. And Moses said to him, "If your presence will not go with me, do not bring us up from here." If your presence will not go with me, do not bring us up from here. What Moses is saying here, he goes, if you're not going before us, I'm not taking another step. If you're not going before us, if you're not going to lead us, I'm not moving beyond this point right here. Which is amazing, because God just said, hey, I'm still sending you to the promised land. Like what I promised you way, way back in Egypt, I'm still taking you there. But Moses understood something that I think we tend to forget, and it's this, that the promised land is not the goal. God is the goal. Do you catch that? Moses wasn't satisfied just with the promised land and the fact that he got to go to the promised land. No, he wanted God, and he wanted God's presence more than that. I wonder with us, and I'm throwing myself in this too, if God were to make this deal, and he would never do this because this is out of his character, but if he were to make this deal and go, hey, what is that one thing you desire right now? Is it your education? Is it a job? Is it a spouse? That one thing that you're like, if I could just have that. If he could make some weird deal with you and go, hey, I'll give you this, but you'll have less of me if you have it. Would you still take it? That's idolatry. You see, you're worshiping that thing more than you are God. But Moses got this. He was like, that's great. You're still going to let us go to the promised land. You're not going to consume us. You're not going to kill us. You're not going to wipe us off the face of the earth. That's awesome because we love to live. That's great. But here's the deal, God. I want you more than I want the promised land. And if you're not going before us, then I don't want to go. I love that. I'm not moving another step unless you're going before me. Is that you? Is that how you live life? That you go, I'm not moving another step if you don't go before me. The Lord's really been impressing upon me lately about my time in the morning. Just to get up out of bed, to beat everybody up out of bed and to spend time with Him. Because the house is quiet. Nobody's calling my phone at 6 in the morning. And if you do, shame on you, right? Right? No, nobody's calling my phone. No, there's not stuff. There's not good TV on at 6 in the morning. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there is. I don't know. Right? It's just good and it's quiet. And so the Lord's really been pressing me, going, hey, you need to be in my presence. You need to meet with me. And so it's just been this reoccurring theme for years now. And some mornings I'm great at it, and some mornings I get up and I meet with Him, and it's awesome, and I love being there. And some mornings that bed feels so good, especially in the winter. Amen? Y'all been there? Yeah, and I'm just like, oh, it's so cold right outside these sheets. But a couple weeks ago, it was a Saturday morning, and I was like, hey, this is my half day off. Like, I want to sleep in. I didn't really communicate that to my wife, which I probably should have. And so we're having this like competition, like who's going to get up, because we've got kids running around the house and they've probably got weapons. And I hear them downstairs, and I know I should get up. It's already late. The kids are already up. And in my mind, I'm going, well, maybe the oldest one has gotten up and fixed everybody breakfast and is reading a story to the kids. And it's sweet and serene down there and just perfect. And then that idea was quickly thrown away when I heard screaming taking place. And I was like, okay, someone's got a knife. So I jump up. I don't have any socks or shoes on. I jump up. I run downstairs, and I come down around the corner, and there's my kids, and I see them, and I'm looking up ahead at them, and I step on broken pieces of a light bulb. Yeah, just all over the floor. And as I'm looking at them, like at first I was kind of like worried, like, oh no, is somebody in trouble, is somebody hurt? And all of a sudden, as I began to step on those broken pieces, my look changed, right? And my kids are starting to go, oh no, Dad's going to consume us. Yeah, so they're starting to get worried, and my feet are bleeding and all this whole thing, and I'm getting up, and I'm not in a great mood at this point, to say the least. Like, I'm not in the mood to greet them with a holy kiss, okay? I'm not about to pastor them well and like, children, let's open up the Bible with our Cheerios. That's not about to happen. Somebody's about to get a whooping. Maybe two. I mean, I'm ticked at this point, right? And as I'm sitting there doctoring my foot and blood's all over the kitchen, and I'm up there and I'm trying to fix everything and trying to keep the kids away from that, I'm starting to think, and the Lord's like, hey, bud, remember, I need you to be up in the morning to meet with me. And I don't think that was like God's judgment on me for sleeping in, you know. I think He's a little more gracious than that. But it was just another good reminder of going, hey, I need the Lord. Because I had so quickly gotten to that way of thinking of just going, hey, man, I can get up and do my morning. I don't need the Lord for breakfast, right? And that idea can continue to permeate your day. I don't really need the Lord, man, to get out the house. I don't really, man, I've driven this road to work every day for X amount of years. I don't really need the Lord. Or maybe I can spend some time with Him on my commute. This next meeting, I don't really need the Lord right here because, man, I've had this meeting so many times. I know how it goes. And it just becomes this familiarity that we're just like, oh, we don't really need the Lord. Is that you? Have you gotten to that point where you can just kind of do life without Him? Without the presence of God? Or could we learn something from Moses here where we go, I'm not moving another step without you? Because that's the humility that God requires of us. That's the dependence that God's asking for us. That we roll out of bed before we even take a step, before we get dressed, get a shower, eat some breakfast, whatever, start our day, before we have a conversation with our wife and say something we shouldn't say. Like, baby, that hair, Well, bed hair, that'll never go well for you. Never, I promise. Yeah, before anything happens in your day, that you just roll out of bed and you get on your face and you go, God, I need you. I need your presence today because I will mess this thing up royally. Or have we gotten so far from dependence on God that we've bought into this American individualism that we can do it? Pull up our bootstraps, roll our sleeves up, we can do this thing. Or maybe it's the fact that we've just done life so much and we've gotten in this routine and we've just got things down. And maybe we're not taking a step of faith anywhere in our lives. We're not being extended. We're not being stretched anywhere in our lives. You see, in order for that to happen, you've got to have an intimacy with the Lord where He's whispering things into your ear going, hey, come jump on mission with me. I've got an assignment. I've got something I want you to do. I've got something here, man, I'd love for you to do. And it's one of those things when God whispers those things into your ear, much like our boy Moses here. Hey, I want you to take these people out of Egypt and lead them to the promised land. It's like, yeah, you got the wrong Moses. I don't have the skills. I can't talk. I'm not a good leader. Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. The Lord's like, no, that's you. Like, is there anything in your life right now that you so desperately need God? You're so dependent on His presence and you moving forward with Him that if He doesn't show up, you are miserably going to fail. Because that's the kind of crazy stuff God calls us to. I mean, He is a wild, crazy God. Just read the Scriptures. I mean, He calls people to do some crazy stuff. Stuff that's well beyond them, that we have to take a step of faith and we have to roll out of bed and go, God, I'm not going to make it. This is not going to work unless you go before me. That was our boy Moses here. I'm not going to take another step unless you go before me. Let's keep going. Look in verse 16. For how shall it be known that I have found favor in your sight, I and your people? Is it not in your going with us, so that we are distinct, I and your people, from every other people on the face of the earth? Chew on that, guys. We are a distinct people because the Lord dwells within us. Because of what God did when He sent His Son, Jesus Christ, down to earth, to die on the cross for our sins, raised from the dead, and send His Spirit. No other people on the face of the earth have the Spirit of the living God living inside of us. We are a distinct people because we follow a distinct God. That's a cool thing. Look in verse 17. And the Lord said to Moses, this very thing you have spoken, I will do. For you have found favor in my sight, and I know you by name. And I love this. He's told Moses over and over and over, hey, I'm going with you, I'm going with you, I'm going with you. I mean, 3 times now, I'm going with you, I'll do it, okay. And then Moses says this, what a bold request. Verse 18, please show me your glory. Show me your glory. Now this is a famous text that if you spend any time in church, you've probably heard this before, where Moses goes, show me your glory. But what he's saying here is he's going, God, prove to me your presence. Prove to me that you're really here, that you're really going before me. Like, I know you've told me that, and you're not a God who lies, but I have to know. Like, these next steps, the things that's going to take place now, I don't know. I don't know how to lead these people. They're idolatrous. My heart's wicked. I don't know how to do this. Please, prove to me your presence. Prove to me that you're really, truly here, that you're really going before Him. Have you ever been there where you're like, God, I don't know that I can make it another day. I don't know that I can make it this next hour. This is too much on me. I'm caving in. That's got to be your cry. God, show me your glory. Prove to me your presence. Prove to me that you love me. Prove to me that you're here, that I have your favor. Prove to me. That's what he's saying. And God answers in an amazing way. Look in verse 19. And he said to him, I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim before you my name, the Lord Yahweh. And I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and I will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. The Lord's saying, hey, it's my choice. I am God in heaven, and I do whatever I please. It's my choice. Verse 20. But he said, you cannot see my face, for man shall not see me and live. And the Lord said, behold, there is a place by me where you shall stand on the rock. And while my glory passes by, I will put you in the cleft of a rock, and I will cover you with my hand until I have passed by. And then I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face you shall not see. What an amazing experience, right? Moses gets to see God's backside. I don't even know what that looks like or what that means, but that's stinking cool. Like, that's an amazing deal, and I don't want to discount this at all with what I'm about to say, because that's amazing. God got to behold the glory of God pass by him. But the truth of the matter is that we here today have got to behold God's glory in a totally new, totally fresh, and totally full way in Jesus Christ. Because the Scriptures teach us that Jesus Christ is the glory of God. He is. And where Moses, as the representative of the Israelites, of the people of God, he got to see him. And then he goes back down the hill and is like, guys, guess what? They're like, what's wrong with your face? It's shining. He's like, oh, it's some new shaving cream I'm using. No. And he's like, I just got to meet with God, and they have to put a veil over his face because his face is shining so much. This amazing experience. We don't have to do that today, because Jesus Christ is the glory of God. I want to show you a couple passages. Turn in your Bibles to John 1:14. We're going to go to John 1, and then we're going to go to Hebrews 1. John 1. John 1:14. Just going to show you a few of these. It says, and the Word, Jesus, and we get that it's Jesus from the previous 13 verses, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory, glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. Now take a right and go to Hebrews 1. Hebrews 1. Hebrews 1, starting in verse 3. It says, he, speaking of Jesus once again, is the radiance of the glory of God and the exact imprint of its nature. And he upholds the universe by the word of his power. We also see this in 2 Corinthians 4:4. We see it in several other places, that Jesus is the glory of God. And that's an amazing deal that we get to see, we get to behold the glory of God in Jesus Christ. And I know some of you may be going, well, that's great and all, Blake. I don't know how your quiet times or your twiddles or your time with the Lord goes, but Jesus didn't walk through my kitchen this morning, full beard and all his glory during my time with the Lord, like as I was reading the Scriptures. That didn't really happen. And honestly, that's never happened to me. Like, I've never seen Jesus visually. But here's the key. This is not so much about the visual as it is about the presence. You catch that? This is not so much about the visual, even though this is an amazing experience that Moses got to have. It's about the presence. You see, these people back in this day had the presence of God in the tent of meeting. Remember Exodus 29, Exodus 30? In the tent of meeting. But today, because of God, what God has done by sending his Son, Jesus Christ, down the cross for our sins, creating an access way for us to God, now all of a sudden, we don't need a tent of meeting. And so God doesn't dwell in a tent, he doesn't dwell in a tabernacle, and he doesn't dwell in a temple, and he doesn't dwell here at the village church, or any other church for that matter. He dwells in his people. You catch that? Like, if you're a believer in Jesus Christ and you've been saved, then you have God's Spirit dwelling inside of you. And that is a powerful, powerful thing. And that means you can leave this place, walk out these doors, go to your house, and spend time with God, and God can speak to you. You can speak to Him. He can reveal things to you simply through His Spirit. That's why Jesus said in John 14, He told His disciples, hey guys, I'm leaving. I'm going to prepare a place for you. But don't worry. Something better than me is coming. And you're going, and I can only imagine the looks on the disciples' face. They're going, what do you mean something better than you is coming? You're God. What do you mean something better? How could something better than you come? And Jesus is like, because I'm sending my Spirit, and it will dwell in each one of your hearts. That's better, because that's presence. God's presence is all over. As believers in Christ, we get to walk in that presence. But my fear is that we've become so accustomed, so familiar with God just being around, and that I can have this talk with Him anytime, that we don't actually take advantage of that presence. That we don't actually meet with God. We just kind of assume, oh yeah, I've got God's presence. But how often do we just do life without engaging His presence, saying, God, I want to invite you in this place. I need you here. We just assume. And you're right to assume He is here, but you could invite more of Him. You could put Him back on that throne in your life and go, God, all this is yours. I want your presence to fill my relationships, the way I father, the way I parent, the way I'm a friend to these people, the way I play sports, the way I go to school, the way I do my work. I want your presence to completely invade everything I do. Because I am a distinct person. Because I follow a distinct God. And people should know. Like when I walk into work, when I go into different places, when I go to get my hair cut or go to do this or whatever, when I walk into a restaurant, when I interact with my barista, when I do all these things, people should know there's a difference about me. And it's not me. It's not my personality. It's not my charm. It's not my looks. It's none of that. It's the presence of God in our lives. Do people feel that from you? Because you are a distinct people. They should feel that presence. And Moses knew this way back then, that he needed the presence of God to go into the promised land. There were some things that he knew about, right? There were some things that were coming up. He's like, who are these parasites? Who are these? I don't know who they are, but they sound scary. Or like, we're going to have to fight them, I'm sure of it. They're not just going to go, oh, you want to move into our house? Sure, here's the keys. That's probably not going to happen. Like, there will be tough days. My people keep falling into sin, keep straying from the Lord. I continue to have to come back in and pastor them and correct them and help them. Me, I'm struggling. I'm not that good of a leader. I've got all these issues. There's going to be, there were some known things, some known troubles that Moses was going to have to face. But there were also a lot of unknowns. He didn't know what was going to happen along the way. He didn't know what difficulties he was going to face. And so that's why he was going, I am not moving another step until you promise me your presence is going before me. That's us today. I mean, some of you are sitting in here and you know what your week looks like. You know you've got a tough meeting on Tuesday. You've got this to deal with. You've got a son at home that's smoking out. You've got all these things that you're struggling with. You're going, how am I going to do this? And there are some known things. Are you just going to try to do this thing on your own and go, hey, I can do this because I'm an American? No, you can't. You're dependent on God for even your life and your breath, Acts 17:25 says. Let's live like we're a dependent people, not just on God for life and breath, but a dependent for His Spirit to invade every area of our lives. We're distinct. We are distinct. So I've got a couple of questions I just want to ask you. And then I'm going to be done. Because I'm not Matt Chandler and I can't preach for an hour. You'll actually beat the Methodist to lunch. So here we go. Are you desperate for God's presence? Number one, are you prone to move forward without it? Are you just okay? Like, do you come into this room so expecting to meet God? Do you spend your time with the Lord in the morning so expecting to meet God that you've given Him time and going, hey, if it takes you 30 minutes and God shows up and speaks to me and the scriptures are bouncing off the page and hit me, praise the Lord. But if it takes Him an hour, that's okay. I don't want to move forward without Him. Have you become so self-sufficient that His presence is an additive rather than a necessity? Have you become so self-sufficient that His presence is an additive rather than a necessity? Like that you don't really need God. You can kind of do life. You can do your thing. You can go to work. You can do family. You can just do life. And if God shows up, man, that's cool. And you got something to talk about at home group this week. But if He doesn't, then no big deal. Just kind of an added bonus. Because here's the truth about God. He is a personal God. Like, I love the fact that even today, if I could poll each one of you, you would all leave here with a different message. You know, God really spoke to me about this. I pray that would happen. God spoke to me about this. God spoke to me about this. This is what God put on me. Even through worship. He is a personal God. Love that. Would you rather have more of Him or more of His stuff? Would you rather have more of Him or more of His stuff? I mean, back to what Moses did there. He was like, hey, that's great. You're still going to give me the promised land, and that's cool. I'm looking forward to that because I'm tired of living in a tent. But I want you. I want God. I want your presence. And the last one is this. Does the thought of a day without Him, without His presence, grieve you? Does the thought of a day without God and His presence in your life, does that grieve you? Like, have you gone through one of those days where you've just been so busy and had so much going on and you laid your head down and you're kind of going back through your day in your mind, you're like, I didn't read my Bible. I didn't pray one time today. I never felt like God was even near me. Does that grieve your soul? Here's the deal. We're a distinct people because of the presence of God. And God didn't just give you that grace of His presence just so that you could just enjoy it. He's given you that grace, that blessing of His presence so that you might be on mission with Him. We are a distinct people because we follow a distinct God. May our lives be filled with His presence. Like, our greatest prayer as a pastoral staff is that God's presence would be felt here in this place, that when people come through those doors, they feel something different. They feel the Spirit of God moving. And that's not something we just conjure up. It's not something that we're working on up in our offices. It starts with stuff like Wednesday night prayer. That we're in here begging God to move in our people. And it starts with you. It starts with a people that are begging God for His presence in their lives. That's what will make a church filled with the presence of God. May we be those kind of people. And not just abuse the presence, but take advantage of the presence. Let's pray. Father, I thank You that You are a distinct God. I thank You that Your presence does fill us, and You can convict us and encourage us and call us to mission, and that we can meet You anywhere and everywhere. We could fly to the other side of the earth and meet with You there. And that is an amazing, amazing blessing. May we not take that for granted. May we be a desperate people for the presence of God. May we realize today how desperate we are. And may we be like Moses, where we go, hey, I'm not moving another step unless You prove to me that You're here. And that's going to flesh itself out in different ways. And maybe that means you don't jump up and go to the bathroom. when worship starts. Maybe that means you don't leave service right when it's over. Maybe you sit in your chair. Maybe you're that person that you go, hey, I'm not leaving here, Lord. I don't want to face what's after this service without your presence. But God, may we be a people that practice the presence of God. God, help us. May we approach your throne of grace with confidence and enter in. We love you in Jesus' name.
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Stop, God Almighty, let me tell you the news. My head's been wet with the midnight dews.
Hello, I'm Russell Moore, and you're listening to The Cross in the Jukebox, a weekly podcast on roots, music, and religion.
I thought I heard the shuffle of angels' feet. It put one hand on
Hey, this is Russell Moore, and this is The Cross in the Jukebox, weekly podcast where we look at roots, religion, and music. And before we get to this week's song, I'd like to read an email from a listener. This is from Jamal, and Jamal writes, Dear Dr. Moore, your show is the bomb. I'm wondering if for the sake of Black History Month, maybe you could feature a famous song made by an African American with honor in Christ, Jamal. Jamal, I think that's a great idea, and we're going to be looking at a lot of songs written by African Americans over the next year, but I decided after getting your email that I would pull one that I especially like right up here and talk about it today. And this is a song by a recently deceased, in the last couple of years, songwriter by the name of Odetta. And the song is one that's been recorded by multiple people over the years called God's Gonna Cut You Down. Let me tell you why this song is especially relevant, for me anyway, this week. Right now, while I'm sitting here in this radio studio, my home state of Mississippi, as anybody who knows me knows, I love the state of Mississippi. Very, very thankful for my roots, and I am a devoted son of the state of Mississippi. There's a controversy in Mississippi about having a license plate honoring Nathan Bedford Forrest, Confederate general. He was not a Mississippian, he was a Tennessean, but Nathan Bedford Forrest, who was one of the founders of the Ku Klux Klan. And so there's a lot of controversy going on about this license plate. Let me just tell you, as a son of Mississippi, count me against any kind of license plate honoring Nathan Bedford Forrest or any other honor for anyone who had anything to do with the Ku Klux Klan at the beginning or in the middle or at the end. Now, when you think about the Ku Klux Klan, it's something we don't typically see very often in contemporary American culture, thankfully. But it is a dark and wicked part of the American past, not just the Southern past, but the American past. Many people don't think about the fact that the Klan had a major influence in states that people really don't typically think of as Jim Crowish, Indiana and Oregon and other places. But of all of the anti-Klan songs, this one seems to have, I think, a special power. Let's listen to Odetta as she sings, God's Gonna Cut You Down.
You may run home for a long time. Run home for a long time. You may run home for a long time. Let me tell you, God Almighty's gonna cut you down. Go tell that long-tongued liar. Go tell that midnight rider. Tell the gambler, rambler, backbiter. Tell them God Almighty's gonna cut them down. Stop, God Almighty, let me tell you the news. My head's been wet with the midnight dews. Now I've been down on my bended knees, talking to the man from Galilee. My God spoke so sweet. I thought I heard the shuffle of angels' feet. He put one hand on my head. Great God Almighty, let me tell you what he said. Go tell that long-tongued liar. Go tell that midnight rider. Tell the gambler, rambler, backbiter. Tell them God Almighty's gonna cut them down. You may throw a rock, hide your hand, working in the dark against the fellow man. But sure as God made the day and the night, what you do in the dark would be brought to light. You may run and hide, slip and slide, try to take the mote from your neighbor's eyes. But sure as there is the rich and the poor, you're gonna reap, my brother, just what you sow. You may run home for a long time. run home for a long time. He may run home for a long time. I'll let me tell you, God Almighty, gonna let you down. Some people go to church just to signify, try to make a date with his neighbor's wife. But neighbor, let me tell you, just as sure as you're born, you better leave that woman, yes, and leave her alone. Because one of these days, you just mark my word, you'll think the brother is gone to work. Or you walk up, knock on the door. That's all, brother, you'll knock no more. Go tell that long-tongued liar. Go tell that midnight rider. Tell the gambler, ambler, backbiter. Tell them God Almighty's gonna cut him down.
That was Odetta, God's Gonna Cut You Down. Odetta was born in Birmingham, but she grew up in Los Angeles, and she became really a precursor to the folk music phenomenon that happened in American culture in the 1950s and 1960s, picking up on some earlier roots from Woody Guthrie and others. And this was a song, I believe it was 1956 when Odetta recorded this. It's been recorded by other people, and perhaps most famously in recent years by Johnny Cash in a record that was released after his death, American 5, that became a music video, a really odd music video, I think, because it had Cash singing in that dying voice, God's Gonna Cut You Down, with the faces of all of these celebrities. So you had Justin Timberlake and Sheryl Crow and the Dixie Chicks and I think Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, if I remember right, and a whole bunch of other smiling celebrities over against this really dark and foreboding song, God's Gonna Cut You Down. But I think Odetta's version, as much as I love Cash, I think Odetta's version has more of that sense of gravity and that sense of historical moment about what this song is actually about. And I want to look at just several things that are included in this song. The first is, if you'll notice, in this song, there is no distinction between personal and social ethics. So she's singing, and she's singing a message from God, and the message is coming to particular kinds of people, liars, and midnight riders, the Ku Klux Klansmen, and then those who are terrorizing people, particularly African American people. She talks about the gambler and the rambler and the backbiter. There's not a division between personal and social ethics. Sin is regarded as sin in both its personal and its social elements, and I think that's something that's really important, that is embedded in the human conscience in a way that we ought to understand. You know, the Ku Klux Klan would fancy themselves as protectors of morality. I even had a guy just today, I put up on Twitter something about the fact that I don't approve of having this Mississippi license plate for General Forest. And he responded by saying, well, you're confusing the Ku Klux Klan as it was at the beginning with the Ku Klux Klan as it became later, much more violent. And the Klan actually was devoted to stopping things like alcoholism and domestic abuse and so forth. Yeah, of course it was. It was a fraud. What you had were a group of wicked cowards who are hiding themselves behind sheets and who are trying to divorce some sense of personal morality from a sense of justice in the public square. Scripture doesn't do that. There are all kinds of people who try to do that on either direction, but Scripture doesn't do it. Scripture presents all the way through God speaking of judgment as a judgment that is coming against men and nations, human beings and nations, and God speaks of justice both corporately and individually. Notice, for instance, Amos. I'm just reading right now through the book of Amos with my boys at night in our family devotionals, and just is a chilling and exhilarating book. If you take some time to read Amos and see what it is that he is saying to the people of Israel. But notice in Amos chapter 2, starting with verse 6, for 3 transgressions of Israel, and for 4 I will not revoke punishment, because they sell the righteous for silver, and the needy for a pair of sandals, those who trample the head of the poor into the dust of the earth, and turn aside the way of the afflicted. A man and his father go into the same girl, so that my holy name is profaned. They lay themselves down beside every altar on garments taken in pledge, and in the house of their God they drink the wine who have been fined. Now, what is God doing? God is doing something here in Amos that he does everywhere throughout the prophets, and something that Jesus picks up and his apostles. There is no dividing out, well, this is a personal moral issue. A man and his father go into the same girl. And this is a social issue, the mistreatment of the poor, economic injustice. Both of those things are held together. Now, there are some people who want to concentrate simply on personal individual morality because that eases their conscience when it comes to what they're doing socially and corporately and in their community. You think about those people who a generation ago were preaching so hard against card playing and drinking and cigarette smoking. It wouldn't say a thing about lynching. And then on the other hand, you have some people who are very committed to social and political and structural righteousness, but they don't deal with issues of personal morality, of personal accountability before God. Well, why? Again, it's an evasion of conviction of sin. If I can just transfer the discussion only to what we're doing corporately, then I don't have to deal with my conscience when it comes to what I'm doing with my sex life or what I'm doing with my tongue in speaking about other people, or whatever the issue is. When Odetta sings this, she is including here sin and injustice holistically, and I think that's something that we can learn from. She also here spends some time talking about prayer, and I think that you can hear this probably better in Odetta than you can in Johnny Cash and in some of the other people who have covered this song, because Odetta, of course, is an African-American woman singing this in 1956. In which you had a very different American society in the way that culture viewed African Americans and women. And she sings about the fact that she's been praying, she's been spending time with the man from Galilee. There's something in there that if we just take it as a statement of personal piety, we're going to miss it. There's a theme that she's expressing that comes right out of the biblical material, that God hears the cries of the oppressed. You hear that all the way back in Exodus, one of the most magnificent passages of Scripture, I think. I go back to it all the time, is when in Exodus the people of Israel cried out. They were groaning, and the Scripture says, and God heard. That same kind of thing is repeated throughout the prophets. It doesn't seem like God hears the poor. It doesn't seem like God hears the oppressed, but he does. He hears them, and that's why in James 5, for instance, James says, you mistreated the laborers, and the people are crying out to the Lord of hosts, to the Lord of the armies. He's the one who avenges his people. God is going to hear. So when Odetta is singing here about crying out to this man from Galilee, and she's singing about what's happening in her life, this is a crucial thing for us to hear, because there's always the temptation for those who are sinning against someone else to turn that person or those people into an object. They don't matter anymore. You think about that with the way that people will use their mouths in gossip or in character assassination. It's very difficult to do that when you see that person as a person. But if you simply turn that individual into some kind of a soap opera, a living soap opera, then you can objectify that person. You can talk about that person. The same thing with the way we tend to think about, for instance, the sojourners among us. We will call them illegal immigrants. And oftentimes, whatever your opinion about what the United States ought to do about immigration, a lot of times the way that we speak about people, image-bearing people, is as though they don't even matter. It's as though they're a completely different kind of thing rather than persons. Well, you see that with the way that we objectify persons by calling them embryos or fetuses or all of these other euphemisms that we use. Odetta here understands that when she has some kind of injustice and oppression coming against her, when she sees the sin that is around her, she's crying out, she's spending time, and she knows that she's heard. She knows that her prayers are going to be heard in some sense. That's important, I think. And then also, notice in this song, there is this refrain and this sense of justice. You can run on for a long time. That's really important. And here's why it's important. Because the Scripture continually is asking that question. Why is it that the wicked prosper? Why is it that sin is not judged? You know, a lot of times when people are first hearing the gospel, one of the things that they have a problem with is the idea that God could judge. And so when our consciences are trying to evade the gospel, we'll say things like, well, I just don't believe in a God who would judge sin. I don't believe in a God who would judge me. That's actually not the problem that most people in history have had. The problem instead is, why will God not judge? Now we all, apart from Christ, feel that way, but the way we feel that way is to say, why isn't evil being judged except for me? Well, whatever it is that I'm doing. I want to be exempted. But the issue is, how can these people who are doing evil and doing wickedness seem to just keep going and seem to prosper as though God doesn't hear at all? They run on for a long time. And it gives an illusion to the sinner, and it gives the illusion to the ones being sinned against that God somehow doesn't see. God isn't aware of what's going on at all. Why, even in the book of the Revelation, you have the saints, those who have been beheaded, and they're under the altar in heaven, and what are they crying out? How long, O Lord, until you avenge yourself? Now, when you think about the reign of terror of those midnight riders, the Ku Klux Klan and other terrorist groups in American history, what are they doing? Well, they were hiding behind robes, and they were robes that were specifically white robes. They're taking Christian imagery. Scripture says that 144,000 are dressed in white robes. Jesus, when he returns, is wearing a white robe. They parasitically steal that image and put a white robe on themselves, but with a mask. They put a hood on them to cover and to conceal their faces. They take Christian imagery of a cross and Christian imagery of fire, that fire that comes down from heaven, and they set those crosses on fire. But how do they do it? Not in order to, as Jesus does with the cross, save the world, John 3, but to terrify people. And so they have fiery crosses that they put out at night. And so how is it that God is just when he is being mocked in this way? That's the question. And that's true not only at that very egregious social level, but also true at the personal level. How is it that people can tear up families? How is it that people can destroy the lives of their children, and they just keep going, and nothing seems to happen? You can run on, says, for a long time, but sooner or later, do not be deceived, Paul says. God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. That's why James says to those oppressing landowners, weep and howl, because you're going to be consumed by the things that you've piled up for yourself. Why does he say that? Well, he says that not only as a warning to those who are going to be judged, but he says it as a word to those who are around them, or even who are being oppressed by them. Don't envy these people, and don't worry about vengeance. God is going to be seen to be right. God is going to be just. God is not going to be mocked. You can run on for a long time, but God is going to cut you down. That is exactly what John the Baptist is preaching when he is preaching repentance. He says, you're so proud of this tree of Israel, but God has his axe at the root of the tree. He's going to cut it down, and he's going to throw it into the kindling. You can run on for a long time, but sooner or later, God's going to cut you down. And that issue of justice isn't simply about, though, for a Christian, a call to repentance. And it isn't simply about the understanding that the arc of history, as Martin Luther King said, bends toward justice. It's long, but it bends toward justice. That's true. But there's something more foundational here as well. That sense of God's justice, of God cutting down, of God burning over everything in enmity to him, means ultimately that we're driven to the cross, where God's justice that burns not only against the Klan, and not only against the Third Reich, and not only against every evil terrorist group that we've ever seen, and totalitarian group that we've ever seen in history, but also to every violation, every transgression against God's holiness. That justice burns. But, as Paul says in Romans chapter 3, God will be seen to be just. He will judge. But in the cross, God is seen to be both just and the justifier of the one who has faith in Jesus. You know, Odetta, here in this song, teaches us something that I'm afraid many people don't know how to articulate anymore in a way that is constructive. A sense of outrage, but a sense of outrage that is hopeful. You can run on for a long time, but sooner or later, God's going to cut you down. The gospel points to that truth, to the inevitable justice of God, regardless of how slowly it seems to grind, but also to the fact that in Christ, God has judged the world. He has judged us. And if we are found in Christ, we are those who have been judged, those who have been exiled, those who have been damned, those who have been cut down and buried and raised to newness of life. So it may be that there are some of you out there today who are living in this kind of illusion. Probably not any Klansmen listening to this, but there may be some persistent pattern of wickedness, persistent pattern of evil that you think you can hide from the presence of God, that you can hide from God's scrutiny, that you can hide from God's justice. No. You can run on for a long time. You can run on for a long time. But sooner or later, God will cut you down. This is Russell Moore, and this is Across in the Jukebox. Come back next week, and we'll talk some more about roots, religion, and music.
Hide your hand, working in the dark against your fellow man. But it sure is.
You've been listening to the Cross in the Jukebox. I'm Russell Moore, and I've enjoyed my time with you. Look forward to being with you here next time when we look at where music intersects with the gospel of Jesus Christ. For more audio resources, go to our website at www.russellmoore.com.
Gotta cut you down. Sooner or later, gotta cut you down.
Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things will be added to you. At ChristianTraders.com, that's exactly what you'll find. Men and women dedicated to building God's kingdom. Are you a fund manager in Frankfurt, a novice in Nebraska, or just starting in Singapore? Our staff and members firmly believe that money is only one part of the true meaning of biblical prosperity. At Christian Traders, it's not about building bigger barns. It's about using years of experience in the financial markets, along with our proprietary software and the inspired Word of God, to not just increase the value of your portfolio, but together develop a deeper personal relationship with God. You're invited to become a member of our rapidly growing international family today. Just visit ChristianTraders.com and click on Forum. Registration is absolutely free, and within minutes, you'll become a part of the most exciting new phenomena on the internet. ChristianTraders.com. Prosperity for God's people.
Okay, so today we're going to have the talk. Sex is such a powerful, fascinating, mysterious, exciting, remarkable subject. It's unlike anything else. It's kind of a funny thing. If you've ever had kids, or remember when you were one and your parents set you down, usually there comes a time, and hopefully sexuality is an ongoing conversation, but usually there comes a time when you got to have the talk. And it's an interesting thing to me how in families, a lot of times, there's just kind of a resistance or a reluctance around having the talk. I know in our own family, when it was time to have the talk with the kids, I had a degree in clinical psychology, but it was still surprisingly difficult to get Nancy to have the talk with the kids. So, now as a weekend, this weekend as a church, we're having the talk. We're in this series, Christian Atheism, I believe in God, but a lot of times my life looks as if I didn't. And we're going to have the talk. And I know. I get it. There are a whole lot of people who really don't want to hear what the Bible has to say on this subject. I get it. Years ago, I'd been meeting with a guy for some time from a non-religious background, real interested in Jesus, but just couldn't quite bring himself to make a commitment. So we're having lunch in this restaurant, and I finally asked him, honestly now, what's holding you back? And he said, well, to tell you the truth, it's this whole Judeo-Christian sexual ethic. My understanding is that the Bible says that sex is reserved for a husband and a wife, and I just feel like, it's not realistic. These are modern times. We live in California. Like when you and Nancy got married, you weren't virgins, were you? I said, well, actually, yeah. I was actually raised with this teaching that sex was for married couples, and Nancy was too, and when we got married, we were virgins. We didn't print it on the program or anything, but yeah, we were. And his eyes got like saucers. He said, no way. You were a virgin? You must have been the only one in Southern California. He's saying this real loud. Now everybody in the restaurant's looking over at our table. See that guy there? Yeah, it's a virgin when he got married. No way. So I asked this guy, he said, I could never do life that way. And so I asked him, well, how's your way working? He just hung his head. Been married and divorced 3 times and cycled through a whole lot of regret. Andy Stanley had spoken on this subject one time to a group of students, and he said afterwards there was a woman that came up to him. She'd been married and divorced, early 30s, kind of navigating dating life, but she had just become a Christian and just started coming to church, happened to be there on this day, sat in the back room when he was talking to these students, and a few days later she tracked him down and said, Andy, I got to ask you a quick question. He said, yeah. She said, it's about this sex thing. She said, now what you said the other night, that's for teenagers, right? And he said, excuse me. She said, the whole no sex till you're married, that's for teenagers, right? Then she went on to say she had been married, got divorced, dating now, kind of out in the world. And surely what Andy said about no sex, that didn't apply to people in her stage of life, did it? And Andy said, this is one of those moments when I'm a pastor where I'm just like praying, God, I got to have a soundbite. I can't give her 20 minutes. I just need a soundbite. And it's a question that he asked her. Let me ask you a question. Has sex outside of marriage made your life better or just more complicated? And he said she just immediately started to tear up. More complicated. Such a deep and tender issue, sex. And you can tell yourself, just bodies, just tissue, just nerve endings. But it's not. Sex is not just sex. And we all, whatever you think about the Bible, we all somehow know this. There's something so deep around it. More than biology. Sex has a lot to do with God. And the Bible has a surprising amount to say about it from the very beginning. One of the kind of unusual, unexpected things about Genesis is how much is in there about sex. The rabbis used to count 613 commandments in the Torah in the Old Testament. You'd think the very first commandment would be about love God or, no idols or something like that. Instead, they said the very first commandment, the very beginning of Genesis, God says to the human race, be fruitful and multiply. Well, that's about sex. God creates this man, and the very first time in the Bible that the man speaks is the first time that he sees a woman. Now, imagine this moment. Just think about how that read to somebody reading the Bible. All the passion and sizzle and chemistry around sex designed by God, and it shows through real early on. It's a wonderful kind of wordplay in Hebrew. The word for Adam is the word ish. For Eve, it is isha. And God brings Eve to Adam. Remember, Adam's asleep, and God creates this woman. Adam wakes up, and he's not seen anything like this before. And he's so stunned, all he can say is when God says, what should we call her? Let's call her Isha, because she came from Ish. He sees Eve so excited. In English, it's very much like he's just going, whoa, man, woman. Yeah, let's call her that, woman. And Eve is thinking, I'm not going to be getting any great Hallmark cards from this guy, am I? And then Genesis goes on to say, for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother, be united to his wife, they will become one flesh. The idea is they leave their parents to create a new primary loyalty, that's union. And their union with each other gets expressed through sexual intimacy, one flesh. In other words, in the Bible, from the very beginning, sex is kind of a sacrament. It's kind of an outward sign that points to an inward reality, to a spiritual state. In other words, in sex, somehow you are kind of glued, kind of knit, kind of joined at the soul with another person, whether you want to be or not. In other words, when you engage in sexual intimacy, your body is making a promise, whether you intend it to or not. It's not just sex. So amazing. At the very beginning of the Bible, Genesis says, they were naked and were not ashamed. Who would expect to see that one in the Bible? That didn't get preached on a lot in the Baptist church when I was growing up, but it's right in there in the text. What's going on there? Well, how could there be that much safety and vulnerability and honesty and openness and courage in a relationship? Because they made a promise. Adam, Eve, only you. No one else, ever. Of course, for Adam and Eve it was a little easier because there was no one else, back then. Another crucial aspect of sex, way back in Genesis, and Adam knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and gave birth to Cain. And she said, with the help of the Lord, I have brought forth a man. Notice she says, with the help of the Lord, I have brought forth a man. Whom does she not mention? Adam. Think that dinged his male ego just a little bit? Hey, I was there, remember? She does mention God. Why? Well, the point is that God is involved, that sexual intimacy is this full, rich phenomenon that involved a connection to her husband, and a connection to her son, and a connection to God. Sex always involves God, because God is our creator, like it or not. And God is deeply concerned that sex be expressed, enjoyed, savored, relished in accordance with his design. So, one day, Paul is writing to this fledgling little Christian community in the town called Corinth. And he says, flee from sexual immorality. Ironic side note, might surprise you. A lot of times in our day, people will say the idea of having sex reserved for a husband and a wife in a marriage is old-fashioned, could never work. Actually, the reality is, it's precisely the opposite. Just historical record keeping here. In the ancient world, outside of little Israel, and then this fledgling church, sex pretty much was regarded as a non-moral, unfettered activity. You can read quite widely about this. There were certain logistic restrictions, and mainly around having a spouse that might get jealous. But mostly the idea in the ancient world was, get as much of it as you can. And Corinth was particularly loose. There was a temple in Corinth that was devoted to the Greek goddess of love, Aphrodite. One writer says there were 1,000 temple prostitutes. You go to the temple, have a little sex, go home. Corinth was so loose in this regard, a Greek writer named Aristophanes actually coined the term Korinthiazo as a euphemism for having sex. What happened in Corinth stayed in Corinth. So Paul's writing to this town, it's the way the world worked. And he said, now if you're a follower of Jesus, your body's going to be a different story. Now you got to flee, you got to run, you got to escape from, you got to get far away from, you got to have nothing to do with sexual immorality. And here, at this point in the talk, I particularly do not want to be vague, because a lot of people just get kind of cloudy at this point. A lot of people may hear that phrase or read it and say, well, sure, I'll flee sexual immorality. I wouldn't want to have anything to do with that. Now, we're having sex with each other, but we love each other. So that doesn't count as sexual immorality. Or, I'd flee that stuff. I do enjoy visiting certain websites, but that doesn't count. Or, we'll probably get married to each other, so that doesn't count. Here's the deal. We do not get to define sexual immorality around whatever definition we want to. Now, you can do with this whatever you want, but the Bible is quite clear. Sexual intimacy outside of marriage is sexual immorality. The Bible does not say if you're in love. It does not say if you're probably going to get married. It doesn't say if you're old enough to make a responsible, healthy decision. It doesn't say it's nobody else's business. It says sexual intimacy is reserved for married people, period. In the words of theologian Beyonce, better put a ring on. Now, if we're actually going to get serious about fleeing from sexual immorality, then we got to know, of what does sexual morality consist? And there's an old word for it. When you do that talk, there's always certain words you got to talk about. So I'm going to talk about one now. An old word for sexual morality, or sexual holiness, or sexual rightness, or wholeness. It's the word chastity. That's a weird word, isn't it? That sounds odd, kind of old-fashioned. Not much used in our day. To be chaste. But this is the Bible's, trajectory for us. To be chaste means to live a life where I'm managing my sexuality in a way that honors God and fits my design. In other words, to be chaste means far more than just avoid unmarried sex. It includes my whole person. It includes my behavior and my attitudes and my thoughts and what I choose to feed my mind on, and how I look. It means I'm grateful for my body. It means I'm grateful that I was made a male or a female, a sexual being, and I seek to keep my body and my sexuality utterly and joyfully submitted to God. Now, celibacy has a different meaning. To be celibate means to refrain from sexual activity. In the